941. Field. Well, since you want to see it, then I'm welcome. Naruto took a breath, looked at him and said, Mr. Jura, I used earth magic to deal with you earlier, and I was the one who neglected me. I will do my best. Although it is a bit arrogant, I have to remind you, I hope you can persevere. As soon as Naruto's words were out of his mouth and spread everywhere, they immediately aroused the shock of countless audiences. What? After fighting for so long, this guy didn't use all his strength. It's ridiculous. He even said that Mr. Jura insisted on such a big talk. Even the strongest Saint 10 would not dare to say that. Damn, this guy is really arrogant. Mr. Jura, we support you. Beat him, beat him. Naruto's arrogant remarks immediately aroused everyone's enthusiastic support for Jura. This guy Naruto seems to be talking too much, Bisca said speechlessly, holding her forehead. However, the first generation and Makarov were all solemn, staring closely at Naruto in the field, looking forward to his next move. They know that Naruto is by no means a big talker, and he was an existence that could compete with Hailong at the beginning. And Mevis is also more aware that the guy who can unlock his own space seal is definitely not that simple. Swordbite Tiger at the auditorium. Look, Sting, this guy is even more arrogant than our sword-biting tiger. Hey, as the Holy 10, I do have such capital, but our sword-bite tiger will never lose. No matter how strong this guy is, I will defeat him. The white-haired boy Sting was full of fighting spirit. The eyes of the crow's tail were full of hatred when they looked at Naruto. Naruto killed one of them, and they wanted to kill him immediately, but unfortunately, they all knew that they didn't have the strength, so, never want to meet him in the game. And the mermaid Zhang, the black-haired girl, frowned slightly. Outside the entire playing field, Ulu, Yulusha and Melty were watching the game through the crystal ball. Wow, Naruto is going all out. Melty exclaimed, I remember that I couldn't even fight a single of his clones. Naruto is indeed very strong. 7 years ago, he was strong enough to easily defeat our Purgatory 77 dependents. During this time, he must have become stronger. Urusha said with emotion. A gratified smile appeared on Ulu's face. Although I haven't tested his strength for a long time, I think I can't compete with him now that I have reached the strength of the Holy 10. In the palace. The Emerald Princess, who was also watching the game through the big screen, and the knight leader under her command were also discussing. Naruto wins this game, said the Emerald Princess. Princess, both of them are Holy 10, so you can't jump to conclusions. Well, I know that, but I feel that Naruto is stronger. Princess Emerald said firmly. Princess, you really have confidence in him. The Emerald Princess smiled slightly. In the field, Naruto and Jura confronted each other. Your Excellency Naruto, please do it. Jura suddenly said. Naruto nodded, and he stretched out one hand and aimed at Jura. Jura's expression became solemn, and she immediately became vigilant. The surrounding audience exclaimed. Is this guy going to make a big move? Cut, it's just looking awesome. Mr. Jura will never lose. HMPH, I want to see what kind of magic he can do. However, Jura, who was displayed in front of the audience on the huge screen, suddenly sweated profusely. What's wrong? Why does Mr. Jura sweat so much? Did that guy unleash some magic? Mr. Jura, fight back quickly. The audience shouted. However, Jura was standing there, but his feet were like 1,000 jinns, and he couldn't move half a step. In the venue, a special momentum permeated. Almost every guild's strong man vaguely felt this momentum. With Naruto as the center, the surrounding distance of dozens of meters seems to be included in an invisible aura. And Jura is in this aura. At this moment, he can't move. Kamarov was shocked. What kind of magic is that? Why is there no magic fluctuation, but Jura seems to be restrained by something? The first generation of Mebius couldn't help but narrowed his eyes slightly and said solemnly, this is the realm. What? Domain? Makarov couldn't help but be taken aback. Yes, This is the realm. It is said that only the legendary gods have an ability. In the realm, everything is controlled by the gods. What? Even Makarov shouted in surprise, and the rest of the guild were also shocked. Viska's face was full of excitement and Yuhi. Although she doesn't understand the words of the first generation, but this is called the skill of the field, and it is definitely a very powerful existence. Sure enough, his man is the most powerful. In the presence, except for the first generation, almost no one could see Naruto's skills. Everyone thought that Naruto had used a magic trick to make Jura unable to move in place. What's going on? The scene is so weird. When Uzumaki Naruto stretched out his hand, why can't Mr. Jura eat it? And his face is not very good looking. Mr. Jura, what's wrong with you? In fact, at this time, Jura himself was also extremely shocked. Because he suddenly found that he couldn't move at all. Not only was his body bound and unable to move, it was as if the whole body was not his own. He wanted to move, but this thought could not be conveyed to his body at all, because the whole body was disobedient, and the rest was only a kind of instinctual fear. Right, is fear. This is not a fear of power, but a fear of an unknown and completely incomprehensible existence, as if the Naruto opposite him is an aloof emperor, and he is just a little ant. This is the dimensional difference. This feeling of fear extended into her heart, and Jura found that her body had an uncontrollable urge to kneel down and pay homage. He tried his best to control his body and mind, trying his best to keep himself from kneeling down. He was sweating profusely. 942. Overwhelming victory. At this moment, everyone realized that Jula was wrong. But these people don't feel that oppressive feeling. Because Naruto released his domain just in the range that included Jura, it did not cover the audience. Otherwise, the audience of the entire venue will definitely be driven crazy by this momentum. Is this the realm? It makes Jula, who is the Holy Ten, unable to even move. Makarov said with a look of shock. The first generation of Mebus looked at Naruto, his eyes flickering, and he couldn't help but say, "Domain, is the skill of God, has he become a god?" Laxus was also greatly surprised. His strength once again made people tremble. Sure enough, if it were me, it would not be much better than that Jura. And the people of other guilds were also shocked by this. Everyone saw that something was wrong with Jura. It was definitely caused by Naruto. In the venue, with Naruto as the center, the surrounding area of dozens of meters, from the outside, actually has a completely different feeling, as if that place has been separated from the surrounding environment and has become a world by itself. Uzumaki Naruto, that's tricky enough. Ivan murmured. At this moment, Jula in the arena suddenly raised her arms and shouted, "I abstain." Boom. Hearing the sound, Naruto put down his arms and withdrew from the field. Jura fell backwards, lying on the ground panting violently. His whole body was soaked with sweat. Jura, defeat. Boom. The arena is boiling. The unreasonable audience began to curse. What's the matter? Why did Mr. Jura surrender without a fight? How could Mr. Jura fail? I can't accept it. Damn, why is this happening? That Uzumaki Naruto must have used some despicable means. No, one more game, one more game. The audience was excited. This made the referee speechless, and said, "It's the truth, Mr. Jura did abstain and lost to Uzumaki Naruto. We don't accept this request. How could we abstain without even having a fight? Didn't we fight evenly before?" Yeah, it must be Uzumaki Naruto who used despicable methods. Facing the dissatisfaction of the crowd, the referee glanced at the guest Yajima. Yajima nodded, took the microphone and said, "The result of the game is indeed that Uzumaki Naruto won. You don't have to doubt, sometimes the strong fight, rely on it's just an air of momentum." He said that, but he didn't understand it himself. Although I don't understand what that guy did, but to make Jula of the Holy Ten do this, his strength is absolutely unfathomable. Obaba, the leader of the Snake-Heim scale, said to Leon and the others, if you meet him in the next game, I think you should abstain." "Why? Shirley asked innocently. Obaba looked at her and said solemnly, perhaps his strength has reached another level, this game is meaningless to him. Unexpectedly, Fairy Tail's strongest magic master, you actually have such amazing strength. At this moment, Naruto walked up to Jura, who fell to the ground, and stretched out his hand with a smile. Jura still had a trace of fear on his face at this time. He was sweating profusely when he saw the outstretched palm. Naruto pulled him up and said apologetically, I am sorry, it seemed like I used too much power just now, are you alright? While speaking, Naruto sent a weak force of life over, quietly nourishing his body. Jura was shocked all over. He looked at Naruto incredulously, feeling the warm and energetic aura in his body, and sighed after a long time, you are really unfathomable. I'm a little bit over my head. It's my honor to fight you once. I saw your power today, and it will be of great benefit to my future magic. Thank you. Jura suddenly bent deeply towards Naruto. A gift. This scene immediately caused everyone present to take a deep breath. Uzumaki Naruto defeated Mr. Jura inexplicably, and Mr. Jura said such humble words and even saluted him. This is simply unimaginable. As the Holy Ten, everyone has their own pride, and they will never bow their heads to anyone. I didn't expect Mr. Jura to do this. Everyone was greatly puzzled, and the fanatical fans of Jura began to shout loudly. Mr. Jura, did he cast some magic tricks on you? How can you admit defeat like this? Mr. Jura, let's fight again. Hearing the surrounding voices, Jura said to Naruto apologetically, I am sorry, I have embarrassed you. Naruto smiled lightly, it's okay, I find it quite interesting. Well, our game is over, let them call. Jura nodded, admiring Naruto's mind immediately. This is the real powerhouse. Others don't care about their indifference and ridicule at all. They have a strong heart as strong as a rock and will not be affected by foreign objects. After thinking for a while, Jura suddenly said loudly to the people around him, you don't have to wonder, I lost to your excellency Naruto, I am convinced that Jura is convinced. His strength is well-deserved number one. The audience immediately fell silent and stopped talking. After listening to Jura's words, Chi-Chi gasped. Mr. Jura actually took the initiative to stand up for Uzumaki Naruto to wash away, and also took the initiative to admit that he was the strongest, such a sure appearance, it is impossible to make people doubt. Could it be that Uzumaki Naruto's strength is really that terrifying? At this moment, all the audience looked at Naruto, puzzled, in awe, disdain, serious and solemn. Emotions are complex. Afterwards, the two left. However, Jura's popularity is still high. Although he lost, his mind that he can afford to lose is also very admired by everyone. The referee announced the result of the game, and then listed the points scored by each team on the first day of today. Fairy Tail AB teams lost in the competition, they recovered in the duel part. As a result, Swordbite Tiger came first, Cyan Pegasus second, Fairy Tail Team B third, Team A fourth, followed by Crow's Tail 5th, Snakeheim Scale 6th, Mermaid Zhang 7th, 8th of the four hounds. The victory of these two duel games directly caused the rise of the two teams of Fairy Tail AB and their reputation. Especially in the Battle of Naruto, he left a very mysterious and powerful impression on everyone. 943. Compared to wine. Naruto retreated to the auditorium and returned to Laxus and the others. Laxus sighed, have you surpassed the Holy Ten now? Entered another realm. Naruto smiled faintly when he heard the words, who knows? After speaking, he dodged and left the place and went to the lounge. In the previous battle just now, the power he used was indeed the domain mentioned by the first generation. Of course, Naruto himself didn't know how to call this a domain. For him, it was just a control over the power of the source. Because the master has the power of the source, he will have a deeper understanding of everything in this world. Just now, he just controlled everything within a range of dozens of meters. Although Jura is very powerful, his strength is only at the 10th level. Under the suppression of the power of the source, within the range. All magic elements, natural elements, are controlled by Naruto. Even the body of the person in it. In fact, although this trick is very strong, it is only effective for those whose strength is lower than Naruto. It is absolutely ineffective for those whose strength is similar or even beyond Naruto. Therefore, on this basis, Naruto is also studying another more powerful force, the space field. It's just that it hasn't been completed yet, and it can't be applied to actual combat. This is the end of the first day of the game, and it will soon be evening. After Naruto returned to the lounge, he found that Lucy had sorted everything out and planned to come out, but she still had a hint of springtide Yuhi dizzy on her face, which was a bit noticeable, but fortunately, it was because she had just taken a shower, which could be used as a cover. Both teams performed well on the first day of the game. Next, let's go to the bar to celebrate, Makarov said to everyone with a smile. Okay, everyone cheered. In the bar, almost everyone celebrates here. Even the original Mebus came along. Seeing everyone eating and drinking, she also wanted to pick up something to participate, but was quickly stopped by Makarov. The first generation, you are a ghost, you can't eat indiscriminately. Chudai suddenly showed a look of grievance, crying and grimacing. Wow, but these things look delicious. That, Makarov had no choice. Naruto came over and smiled suddenly. Shodai first, Sama, if you want to live like a normal person as a ghost, I can take you to a place. Really? Naruto, are you serious? Stars suddenly appeared in Meba's two big eyes, threw himself on his chest, and exclaimed excitedly, I won't go, I'm going. It's so boring here. But I'll talk about it when I get time. Naruto waved his hand. Oh, the first generation nodded, with an inexplicable light flashing in his eyes. Kana and Gray, who had lost the competition before, were in a low mood and came here to celebrate their first day's results. Kana had been drinking at this bar for a long time. Naruto, your performance is really cool. Seeing Naruto coming over, Kana immediately rushed towards him, holding a wine bottle in her hand, and greeted him. Come on, let's celebrate, come on, have a few drinks. Naruto said, Kana, you'd better drink less. The way the woman smells of alcohol is really unsightly. It's okay, I'm celebrating you. Kana raised her glass to Naruto's mouth. Naruto had to take it and take a sip. It's really Kana, you should restrain yourself a little bit. This is not a guild, but the capital of the kingdom. What a shame. Urza taught her a lesson. Kana smiled and hurried away. Elsa held her forehead and said speechlessly, I really can't do anything about her. Naruto looked at Kana, shook his head, and walked towards her. Let her have a drink. I'll go over and accompany her for a few drinks. This girl must have a hard time losing the competition. Urza was stunned for a moment, and then nodded. In the bar, in addition to the members of Fairy Tail, there are other members of the guild, as well as those civilians. Everyone was very interested in this guild that had fallen before but now suddenly rose, and they started talking about it. What a lively guild. That blonde boy, I saw him beat Mr. Jura of Holy 10. Yeah, I saw it too, I didn't expect him to be so strong. Hey, it's better for us not to mess with such a strong person. There are a lot of beautiful girls over there. It's a pity that the strong person is there. It's a tragedy. Cut, if anyone wants to die, they can go for a dip. When Naruto heard the voices of everyone, he couldn't help but smile. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded in the bar. Oh, it's so lively. How's it going? This lady, dare you have a few drinks with me? I saw a tall man with a bun on the back of his head and a presumptuous look coming over. He walked all the way, ignoring the people around him, and walked towards Kana. Kana was drinking wildly, looked up at him, and asked inexplicably, drinking with me? The people in the surrounding guild laughed, daring to compare wine with Kana, that is really an act of courting death. Don't people in Fairy Tail even dare to compare wine with people? The man's face showed a disappointed and disdainful expression. Kana was instantly provoked, stepped on the stool, lifted the barrel and shouted, "Drink as much as you want. Our fairy tale will never admit defeat." Tall man smiled and said, "Let's get started." He also picked up the wine barrel and sat there drinking wildly. This is the S-rank man of the four-headed hounds, Fist of Intoxication Pakas. Urza said suddenly and solemnly. Seeing this scene, Naruto frowned slightly, but then stretched out again. Kana lost the game. Although she comforted her, she would definitely feel unhappy in her heart, so it would be okay to let her drink some wine to vent. Just don't drink too much. However, after a while, Kana and the man named Pakas were half drinking, and fell back dizzy. Naruto hurriedly appeared in front of her, grabbed her waist directly, and frowned slightly when he smelled the alcohol all over her body. Looking at Pakas next to him, he found that although he looked a little drunk, he was still sober, and his alcohol intake was even stronger than Kana. Sure enough, there are some doors. 944. One punch flying. Ha ha ha, I won. Pakas glanced at Kana, who was drunk in Naruto's arms, and laughed. Naruto shook his head helplessly, and everyone around was greatly surprised. I didn't expect that there would be a guy who drinks better than Kana. Since I won, I have to take away some spoils, haha. The man got up and reached out to grab Kana's chest. Naruto was stunned for a moment. He reached out to stop it, but when he saw the opponent's arm suddenly circled, he immediately bypassed his own block and continued to touch Kana's chest. Can such a thing be forgiven? Kana is his own woman. This guy actually shot his own woman openly in front of everyone. He sneered, and regardless of whether he was really drunk or fake, he waved his hand and slapped the man in an instant. Pakas was shocked when he was stunned. His strongest ability was the drunken fist, which was similar to a drunken fist. In the case of drunkenness, he could display very powerful physical fighting skills. However, at this time, he suddenly felt a strong chi lock in his drunkenness. The danger perception ability that he had cultivated for a long time suddenly realized that something was wrong. He just wanted to use a drunken fist, but only heard a crisp sound, and then he only felt that he was already spinning. A slap. It was neat and tidy. Before Pakas touched Kana's chest, Naruto's fan flew out, and with a bang, a big hole was knocked out of the wall of the entire bar. In an instant, the bar was boiling. Everyone in the guild, including others, also gathered around. Urza stepped forward, took Kana from Naruto's arms, and handed it over to Wendy to help her sober up. She said, "Naruto, don't cause any fatalities." Naruto smiled coldly, his figure flashed, and in the next instant he appeared in front of Pakas, who fell to the ground. "Boy, whether you're here to drink or play, if you dare to be a hooligan, be prepared to die." He looked down at Pakas and said lightly. And Pakas was sober at this time. Even if he was drunk, he already understood the power of Naruto. He originally thought that his power could come and go freely. Even if he was a fairy tale, he could ignore it, but he obviously overestimated himself. Naruto was able to let the dove of Saint Ten, the man who surrendered Ladu. Pakas dared to openly come to Fairy Tail to provoke him, and he dared to borrow alcohol to play hooligans after drinking, and the object was Naruto's woman. It's just courting death. Hey, whoa, it's really amazing. Half of Pakas's cheeks were swollen high, and the power of Naruto's slap directly made all his methods ineffective, and he couldn't help but feel fear in his heart. This guy is stronger than what he sees. Are you a middle S-rank man from the Four Hounds? Naruto reached out and lifted him up, hanging him in the air, and said coldly, "I don't want to see you again with your face." Boom. With another punch, Pakas was hit hard in the abdomen. The next moment, Naruto's punch was slammed out of his body, and a big hole was smashed out of the roof of the tavern. The figure gradually disappeared into the sky, and I don't know where it fell. It is estimated that he will be paralyzed if he doesn't die. Naruto, this guy won't die, right? Urza said with her mouth wide open. It's alright, I guess I won't die. At most, I won't be able to use magic anymore. Naruto said lightly. Everyone around shuddered. Those from other guilds who didn't know Naruto looked at Naruto with awe. The existence of the S-class was actually knocked away by a punch, and even the figure could not be seen. No wonder Jura of the Holy Ten raised his hands and surrendered. This is really strong and outrageous. Okay, let's see if Kana is awake. Naruto turned to Wendy. Wendy was using magic to rescue Kana and eliminate the harm caused by alcohol to her body. Hearing this, she turned her head and said, "It's all right, Naruto brother, Kana just drank too much." "Well, then I'll take her to the lounge." Naruto picked up Kana and left the bar. Looking at his back, whether it was a member of his own guild or someone from another guild, a kind of reverence rose in his heart. Is this the real powerhouse? Just like a protector, he will never let the people in the guild suffer any harm or grievance, and guard everyone with absolute strength. Taking Kana back to the lounge, the dizzy Kana fell on the bed and fell asleep. Naruto wandered around the room for a while, and suddenly received some news. With a wave of his arm, he set up a layer of enchantment around it, and then the figure instantly disappeared in place. In the palace. Princess bedroom. Princess Emerald stood by the window, surrounded by several maids arranging things. The next moment, Naruto appeared beside her. "Princess Emerald, what are you looking for from me?" he said immediately. "Do you need the keys of the zodiac now? I can't find you if I have nothing to do." Princess Jade gave him a white look, and said with a smile after signaling the maids around her to leave. "Then I'll go back." Naruto turned to leave. Emerald Princess quickly reached out and grabbed his arm. "If you have something to say, don't beat around the bush." Naruto turned to her and said. Princess Emerald glared at him slightly. "Okay, you really saw through it. I really have something to ask you for." There was a faint smile on Naruto's face. This girl is very shrewd, and she has worked so hard for the solar eclipse plan. How could she have time to come and chat with herself? That's right, after 8 o'clock tonight, there was a party in the palace, and there are still more than 2 hours before that time. I would like to invite you to participate, Princess Jade said softly. Oh, the party. What party? Naruto asked in a stunned moment. It looks like a very ordinary party, but in fact, I did it for one person, and the ultimate purpose is also for the solar eclipse plan. Princess Emerald said mysteriously. It turned out that Naruto looked up and down at Princess Emerald, and it seemed that she was indeed well dressed. With a little makeup on her originally green face, she became more mature, and her clothes became a green evening dress, revealing the slender and tender skin behind her. And on her head, she also wears all kinds of gorgeous gemstone jewelry. The whole person looks noble and elegant, with a charming temperament. 945, Party. Okay, since it's the princess's invitation, it would be rude for me to refuse. I'll be here on time at 8 o'clock in the evening. Naruto smiled and said, I don't know who you are talking about, it's good to meet you. Quote. Emerald Princess smiled. The next moment, Naruto flashed away. When we got back to the pub, everyone was still celebrating. Because there was a party at night, he left after talking to Urza and the others. Finally, at 8 o'clock in the evening, Naruto appears in the princess's bedroom. It's really on time. Princess Emerald smiled after looking at the wall clock. Naruto smiled lightly. Afterwards, Princess Emerald took Naruto out of the palace, and accompanied by a few cute little maids, turned around the palace several times. Finally came to a luxurious hall. The hall is very large and can accommodate almost 1,000 people. It is magnificent and luxuriously decorated. Jinchuriki columns are carved with various totems, magic lamps shining in various colors, and various calligraphy and painting decorations on the surrounding walls. It really deserves to be a royal family place. After Princess Jade entered, another group of people came to salute. With a reserved smile on her face, she stretched out her hand and placed it in Naruto's hand beside her. Naruto was stunned. She winked at him and whispered mischievously, Today you are the male companion I brought, so you have to stay with me for a while, and you must not leave. Feeling her slippery and cold little hands, Naruto did not refuse, and he was relieved after a slight smile. However, There were already a lot of people in the hall at this time, and it seemed that almost all of them were important ministers, generals, knights and magicians of the kingdom. Among them, there are also handsome guys and beauties. After they saw Princess Jade coming over, they also came to say hello. After noticing that Princess Jade actually let Naruto hold her little hand, many men were not calm. Princess Jade is the jewel in the palm of the entire kingdom. It is the stunner that many men dream of reaching the sky in one step. Of those men who yearn for power, which one does not want to be the concubine? However, before anyone could do it, there was already a man beside Princess Emerald. Everyone, it's been a long wait. Princess Emerald and Naruto walked to the front and smiled at everyone in the hall. Let me introduce, this is Uzumaki Naruto, the guest I invited tonight. Hearing Princess Jade introducing himself, Naruto had no choice but to say, first time meeting, everyone. The greeting was lukewarm, because he really wasn't very interested in this kind of party full of strangers. If it wasn't for Princess Emerald inviting him, he wouldn't be too lazy to come here. Why don't he go back to sleep with Ursha and the others? Isn't it more comfortable? This guy, at first glance, is a little white face. Someone whispered behind his back, and at the same time cast a jealous look. HMPH, I don't know how to hook up with Emerald Princess, I'm really lucky. However, someone suddenly exclaimed, no, Uzumaki Naruto, it sounds familiar. It seems that he is the winner of the last match of today's last magic martial arts competition. Ah, I remember saying that too. He seems to be the one who defeated Mr. Jura, one of the Holy Ten. Another stronger Holy Ten. Really, how did Shengten get together with the princess? At this time, Princess Jade, who heard everyone's remarks, couldn't help but have a face. Yuhi, she stood up to stop everyone's speculation. Everyone, Mr. Naruto is the one who defeated Mr. Jura. My special guest tonight, but there is another important person tonight. She clapped her hands. The hall door opened, and as the music sounded, everyone saw a young girl with short light blue hair and a small blue flower walking in. There were several maids beside her, helping her lead the way. Naruto looked at it and knew the person at a glance. This is Miss Yukino of the Sword-Bite Tiger. Princess Emerald personally stepped forward and pulled Yukino, and then introduced to everyone kindly. The Tiger of Sword Biting is the strongest guild in our kingdom of Ophelia. As one of the 5 contestants, Miss Yukini is very powerful. At this time, Shuinai of Sword-Bite Tiger seemed to be a little uncomfortable with this kind of scene, and frowned slightly. She was even more embarrassed about the introduction of Princess Jade. However, she still smiled calmly at everyone. Wow, what a beautiful girl. Yeah, a powerful sword-biting tiger, and such a beautiful girl, it's really perfect. Many people were muttering. Shuinui looked at the people around and found that she didn't know any of them, but she was shocked when she saw Naruto. Fairy Tail, the strongest magician, completely overwhelmed Mr. Jura's Holy Ten. Why did he come to this party? She suddenly became vigilant in her heart. As a competitor in the competition, Yukino had an instinctive vigilance towards Naruto. After the introduction, Emerald Princess asked everyone to share and taste the delicacies that filled the hall. Then, she brought Shuinui to Naruto. Naruto, this is Miss Yukino, you should know him. Princess Jade introduced him. She is a celestial magician. Naruto was stunned for a moment, and could not help but look at her carefully, only to see that she was tall, with a long cloak covering her calf, wearing a white low-cut dress, revealing the fair skin on her chest. A deep ravine appeared outside, which made people salivate. Compared with Emerald Princess, Yukino looks more mature and attractive. Princess Emerald, I didn't expect you to invite him too. Didn't you say that you have something extremely important to discuss with me tonight? Shuinui was obviously a little unhappy after seeing the competitor. When Princess Jade heard the words, she was not in a hurry. She poured 2 glasses of wine, handed them to Naruto and her, and then doubled the amount for herself, pointing to a quiet corner of the hall and smiling. No need. Hurry, let's go over there and have a good talk. Shuinui hesitated for a moment, looked at Naruto, and after seeing him nodding, she had no choice but to leave. The three came to the corner seats and sat down. Princess Jade sent someone to bring something to eat, and finally said to her unhurriedly, "Miss Shui Nai, it is true that I invited you to come, but this matter is very important, and I will be very careful with you. It's just for discussion, so I'm just using this party to avoid people's eyes and ears, don't take offense." 946. Emerald Princess. Princess, what's the matter? With her mysterious look, Shuinai's eyebrows could not help but wrinkle slightly. As a member of the Swordbite Tiger, she has always been proud of her guild, but this time, she was forced to come out to the party without telling the guild because of her identity as a princess. He will scold himself again. As for why she had to hide it, it was just because she hated the president. Even so, she still likes her guild very much. Princess Emerald looked at Naruto and said a few words, "Eclipse plan." Naruto smiled faintly, as expected. In fact, when he learned that Shui was a Protoss magician like Lucy, he had already guessed that Princess Jade wanted to win over this Protoss magician and wanted to borrow the magic from her. Protoss key. A question mark appeared on Shuinai's head. Emerald Princess smiled mysteriously, and then whispered to her about the Eclipse project. After speaking, Shuinai showed a look of shock on her face. It took a long time for her to calm down. She looked at Naruto. "Do you know this plan too?" Naruto nodded. Princess Emerald said, "Naruto has promised to lend me the Protoss key, and then help me, help the whole country." "No, it's impossible, right? How could such a thing happen?" After learning about such a shocking event, Shuinai was still a little unconvinced. Princess Emerald squeezed Naruto's arm lightly with her small hand. Naruto was stunned, glanced at her, and immediately said to Shuinai, "To be honest, I don't believe in such a thing, but I would rather believe it. It exists, and it would be nice to see the so-called gate of time and space." Shui now couldn't help but hesitate for a while. This is the most absurd but most concerning thing she has heard. The world is going to be destroyed. If the plan is not carried out, the whole country will be destroyed. "Princess Emerald, please allow me to go back and think about this matter, and I will give you an answer after the game is over tomorrow." She thought for a while before answering. "Okay, I'll wait for your reply tomorrow." Princess Emerald laughed. "Well, if that's the case, it should be fine next time, right? I want to go back first." Shuinuo said goodbye immediately. "Okay, I'm already very happy that you can come to my party. I'll have someone send you off." Princess Emerald was very friendly and cared for her. This is a major event related to the Eclipse project. If you don't handle Shuinuo properly, it will be very troublesome in the end. After all, Shuinuo is the strongest guild in the kingdom. Shuinai bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess, for your kindness. I'll just go back by myself." "Well, that's fine. I'll send someone to deliver a letter to you tomorrow." Princess Jade also waved her goodbye. When Yukino was about to leave, she suddenly looked at Naruto and asked, "Uzumaki Naruto, I have a question to ask you. Since you don't believe in this, why did you agree to participate in this plan?" "What?" Naruto glanced at Princess Emerald, shook his head and smiled. "I'm just curious. It doesn't matter to me whether I participate or not." "Really? It seems that you are very confident." Shuinai said lightly, "Although you are very strong, our Swordbite Tiger will not lose to you." "Hey, Fairy Tail will never admit defeat." Naruto smiled. After Shuinai left, Princess Emerald looked at Naruto and couldn't help but said, "I really can't help you. I mean, don't you know? Why did you suddenly talk about guild competition?" The purpose of Princess Emerald's hosting this party is very clear. The two core members are Naruto and Yukino, and they are indispensable. "Hey, you used me as a tool. I haven't blamed you yet. You should say that I'm not mine first." Naruto put his hand on her head and narrowed his eyes as he approached her and said, "Don't think I don't know. You want to use me to set an example for Yukino and make it easier for her to participate in your Eclipse project." Princess Emerald was startled. Her thoughts were seen through by him at once. and she couldn't help but feel a little uneasy for a while. Her head was pressed by Naruto's hand, and she forgot to resist. I'm just trying my best to complete the Eclipse plan, and save the country. After being embarrassed for a while, she suddenly raised her head and looked at Naruto's eyes, and said tit for tat. Although Naruto is outrageous, even the princess of a country can't offend him, but at this time Princess Emerald feels a little aggrieved. She is working hard to implement such a plan for the sake of the country, the people, and the future, but this guy, he didn't even say a word of caring and condolences. Instead, he was always lukewarm to himself, and even murdered himself. It is ruthless to have such a powerful force, yet not make any contribution to the country and the future. Seeing Princess Emerald pouting like she was about to cry, Naruto suddenly laughed. What are you laughing at? Princess Emerald felt inexplicable. Could it be that he laughed in anger because of his own words? It's bad now, I'm impulsive. What if he doesn't want to give him the key? However, just when she thought she was going to face Naruto's anger, a peaceful voice suddenly came from her ear. Princess Emerald, you are like a girl like this, laugh when you should laugh, and be angry when you should laugh. When you get angry, this is the youthful vigor a girl your age should have. The Emerald Princess was stunned. Naruto said again, I know that you have arranged a lot for the Eclipse plan, and you also want to rely on my strength. For this reason, even if you were kidnapped by me, you did not mobilize the power of the country to crusade me, but chose to cooperate with me. I cooperated, and I must have been very angry and aggrieved by my inexplicable intervention at that time. I'm sorry, Emerald Princess. Princess Jade couldn't help being stunned. Facing Naruto's sudden apology, an indescribable feeling suddenly rose in her heart. Yeah, how many days have you not slept well for the Eclipse project? In my heart, I am always worried about the future of this country, and I am always thinking about how to save this country and its people. I am really tired. 947. The second day of the game begins, 6th update. Jade, don't worry, this world will not be destroyed, and this country will not suffer. With me, whoever wants to destroy this beautiful world, I will not let him go. Naruto said softly. Emerald Princess had mixed feelings in her heart at this time, so she could only say loudly, yes, but the opponents are Jareth and Hylong. They are absolutely irresistible existences. How will you stop the destruction? Jareth and the Black Dragon are indeed very powerful, but if they want to destroy this world, they have to pass me first. Naruto put his hands on Princess Emerald's weak shoulders with a determined look on his face. I will never break my promise, and if that time comes, I will definitely prove it to you. Looking at Naruto's blue eyes at such a close distance, Princess Jade couldn't help being in a trance. From these confident and firm eyes, she seemed to see the light of hope in the distant sky. With this light, I feel that I don't have to be afraid of anything anymore, and my mood is inexplicably calm. Really, she, who didn't believe he had such ability, suddenly became full of confidence after seeing his deep pupils. Yeah, Naruto nodded heavily. Princess Emerald was suddenly silent, and after a long time, she finally raised her head with a bright smile on her face. Thank you, Naruto. At this time, her smile was less reluctant than before. Naruto believed that she was definitely from the heart. This is the smile that a princess should have. However, she changed her tone and said, but my plan is almost finished. No matter what the result is, be sure to try the results of so long hard work. Naruto smiled lightly. Then it's up to you, just treat this plan as a game. After the game is over, let go of all the pressure and be a happy princess. It's a little late, I should go. Quote. He waved his hand, and without waiting for Jade to say anything, the figure suddenly disappeared in front of her. Looking at the direction where Naruto disappeared, Jade did not return to her senses for a long time. She reached out and took out the crystal that Naruto gave her, looked at it, and then held it tightly in her hand and silently placed it on her chest. A reassuring smile appeared on his face. Early the next morning. There were already huge crowds in the auditorium of the competition arena, and everyone rushed to watch today's wonderful final. Yesterday's exciting event attracted a large number of spectators, and the scene was more lively than yesterday. Amid the noise, Naruto and his party came to the front row of the audience and found their own place. And today's guests, in addition to Mr. Yajima, there is also a reporter from Magic Weekly, Jason, who used to interview Fairy Tail, and has a very good impression of Fairy Tail, and at this time he was invited to be a guest. The mood is also very excited, and the mouth has been shouting. Then, the referee announced the rules for today's first game. This race is a real racing race. Named, Chariot. The name sounds very cool, but in fact it is just to let the players stand on those mobile chariots that are closely connected, and they can use any magic to reach the finish line at the fastest speed without allowing the chariots to fall. In order to determine the score. This venue is not in the dome, but starts from the Imperial City, passes through a tourist attraction, and finally reaches the end of the dome. And those spectators watched the competition through a huge crystal magic screen. This kind of competition project is really unexpected, completely unexpected. Also, the person sent by Fairy Tail Team A this time was actually Natsu. This guy was the least capable of transportation, but he ran out on a whim. Fortunately, the B team did not go wrong, and Mirage came on the field. After training, she has been able to master the original self-sealing power of Master herself. However, like Fairy Tail Team A, Sting, who climbed out of the Swordbite Tiger, was the same as Natsu. He had no way of transportation. At the beginning of the game, he and Natsu were far behind. Everyone, still swaying in front of the starting line. The other teams each sent their own team's players who were good at speed, and they all started to rush to the finish line at the fastest speed. In the eyes of others, Mirage's image of a good girl is difficult to relate to the superfast aspect. Unexpectedly, at the beginning of the game, Mirage directly incarnates as a demon and uses his whole body to receive magic, Satan's soul. In an instant, she was full of aura, and the appearance of the devil made her whole person full of sexy and glamorous aura, just like the queen in hell. After Naruto saw her like this, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Such Mirage is really nostalgic. He couldn't help thinking of the impression that Mirage had left on himself for the first time, that arrogant and domineering queen. Fan full of ponytail girl. Mirage spread out a pair of demon wings behind him. The speed was very fast. With a tap of his feet, he jumped forward directly, surpassing everyone at once. Isn't she cheating? She can actually fly. It's abominable, shouted the dissatisfied guy among the contestants, who was the four-headed hound. Originally, the one they sent out this time should be that Pakaz, but he was punched by Naruto yesterday and flew to the ground, so it is estimated that this game will not be able to participate, so they can only be used by their guild. Other people instead. Mirage pouted, no longer estimating. The speed was full, and he rushed out almost immediately, symbolically dipping his feet on the chariot, and soon reached the end. No doubt the first. After all, flying is always faster than running. Behind them are the other teams, Black Snake of Crow's Tail, One Knight of Blue Pegasus, Yuka of Snake Hind Scale, Lisley of Mermaid Zhang, and the last ones are Natsu and Sting. After a long time, the competition finally ended. This time, the Swordbite Tiger came last, and Fairy Tail was the second to last because of Natsu's unyielding spirit. But the final ranking is Fairy Tail B Team first. After this race is over, Fairy Tail Team B ranks up again. The original 20 points of Swordbite Tiger have not changed, the 14 points of Cyan Tianma has become 17 points, the 11 points of Fairy Tail Team B have become 21 points, and the 10 points of Team A have become 21 points. 11 points, 6 points for the Crow's Tail became 14 points, 4 points for the Snake Hind Scale became 8 points, 3 points for the Mermaid Bell became 9 points, and 1 point for the Four-Headed Hound. Still 1 point. 948. Duel in progress, 7 more. Therefore, in the rankings so far, Fairy Tail Team B temporarily ranks first. This time, everyone in the guild cheered. The face of the original Mebus was full of bright smiles. Next, is the second duel part of today. The duel part of the battle is definitely eye-catching. Most of the audience likes to watch the strange magic of various powerhouses. Therefore, when the two people in the first game appeared, the atmosphere of the audience boiled again. The first match is Black Snake of the Crow's Tail vs Toby of the Snake-Heim scale. Black Snake, the guy who participated in the race just now, has a good speed, and Toby is the kobold who has been with Leon and the others all the time. Naruto thinks that there is something wrong with his brain. At this moment, Naruto noticed a gaze staring at him in the auditorium of Big Crow's Tail on the other side. He turned his head and saw that it was the despicable woman who fought against Lucy before, Freya. At this time, her face was bruised, and she looked at him with a terrified expression. "It's all your fault, Uzumaki Naruto." Naruto didn't understand what she was saying, but he ignored her and turned to look at the venue. However, at this moment, the masked man in the crow's tail suddenly pinched Freya's face with his metal-armored hand, and said viciously, "Trash, I have told you thousands of times. Don't provoke that guy again. Don't you think it's not enough trouble? Or do you want to be beaten again?" Freya was held by his cheek, trembling all over with fright, her eyes filled with tears of fear. I don't dare anymore, please forgive me." "Humph, damn trash." The masked man threw her to the ground. Freya groaned, slowly got up from the ground, and stood aside, but never dared to look at Naruto again. And her other companions, as if nothing happened, turned a blind eye to it. Seeing the indifference of her companions, Freya lowered her head and sobbed. When Naruto saw this scene from beginning to end, he couldn't help frowning. Although this woman is despicable, she is really pitiful in such a guild. Being abused like this is really unbearable. He thought so, but he didn't have the idea to save her now. After all, she was the guy who hurt Lucy in a despicable way. How could she be easily forgiven? However, Lucy also saw her miserable state, and her expression was a little sympathetic. "Naruto, she seems miserable," Lucy whispered to Naruto. Naruto nodded and said with a slight anger, "That guild has been targeting us, and it is really annoying. Now this way of treating our companions is also disgusting. We must find an opportunity to clean them up." Lucy nodded slightly. At this time, the battle on the field has already been decided. The magic of the Black Snake is mimetic magic, which can simulate the form of other magic. It is indeed very powerful, a bit similar to copying. Toby the kobold was not an opponent at all, and he was killed in seconds before the Black Snake could exert all his strength. As a result, after the victory of the game, the Black Snake stepped forward and tore Toby's sock hanging on his chest into pieces, and Toby, who told the Black Snake his great secret, lay there crying bitterly. In this scene, no matter how bad the Black Snake's behavior of destroying Toby's important things was, Naruto felt a little inexplicable joy, but it was more of a disgust for the Big Crow's Tail. Then came the second game. It was Yego, a four-headed hound, a man with a single braid and a headset, who played against the petite Wendy of Team A of Fairy Tail. When the opponent saw a little girl like Wendy, his face was full of disdain. "Little sister, you still come out to compete at your age, is Fairy Tail really nobody?" He laughed. Wendy's face was firm. Although she was petite, her aura was not weak at all. She replied with a clear voice, "Although I am the worst in the guild, I will never lose to others." "Hey, then uncle, I will play with you." Wendy opened her mouth and took a deep breath when she heard the words. In an instant, the surrounding air seemed to be sucked into her mouth, and there was a gust of wind in the venue. "Wow, what is this? Looks great." Before the crowd's discussion was over, Wendy spit out a mouthful at her opponent. Boom. Dragon's roar. I saw an extremely strong tornado shock wave from her mouth moving towards the other party. "Wow, help." Yego suddenly yelled out in fright. Before he could defend himself, he was hit by Wendy's roar, and he was defeated. Immediately the audience was shocked. I didn't expect Wendy to be so powerful at such a young age. Or the Dragon Slayer. After winning the game, Wendy smiled shyly, and went forward to help the man named Yego treat the injury before returning to Naruto. Yego was immediately moved. The audience also greatly praised. This time, Wendy's popularity has greatly increased. Well done, Wendy. Seeing Wendy returning happily, Naruto reached out and touched her head and praised, but you're not good at treating the enemy. If the enemy suddenly holds a grudge, if I give you a sudden blow, you will suffer. I get it. Big brother Naruto. Wendy nodded her head, looking like she was well behaved. Fairy Tail Team A won one victory. The score was increased by 10 points, and the rankings caught up in one fell swoop. Okay, next is the third game. Fairy Tail Team B, Juvia vs Cyan Pegasus, Miss Jenny. Juvia is one of the 4 elements, water element, and is born with super water magic ability, while Miss Jenny is the most beautiful girl of the Blue Sky Horse, once served as the cover girl of Magic Weekly, and her magic strength is in the guild. Also very good. Quote. Following the host's introduction, the two were ready to enter. This is another battle between women. Juvia was not well known before, but Jenny had already made a name for herself in the magic world with her beautiful appearance and active personality. At this moment, most of the audience supported Jenny. 949, the last one. As the first cover girl of Magic Weekly, let's have a photo showdown, shall we? Jenny said to Juvia with a playful smile at the beginning of the game. Writing, photo showdown, Juvia said with a face Yuhi. Then, I don't want that kind of thing. It's too embarrassing. He, she's really a shy girl. Jenny smiled and said, it's a rare opportunity to show your most beautiful side in front of everyone. No, don't, I always feel embarrassed like that. Juvia held her face full of red Yuhi. She looked at Naruto in the audience, thinking that she was going to do those pictures in front of Naruto. Immediately I felt ashamed. Really, that girl named Jenny is actually teaching Juvia bad. Naruto shook his head helplessly, taking pictures or something, and Juvia's conservative character would not do it. Cut, it's really boring. It would be great if Mira competed with me. Jenny glanced at Miraji in the audience. She and she were both photo girls, and they were secretly competing with each other, but because of Mirage has been missing for 7 years. In these 7 years, he has become the #1 photo girl in Magic Weekly. The master is lonely. I think we should solve it by fighting. Juvia's expression returned to calm, exuding a powerful momentum, and said. As one of the 4 elements, I've heard that you are powerful, but I won't give up easily. As the main member of the Blue Pegasus, Jenny's magic is the same as that of Mirage. Not bad either. Then I'll go. Juvia waved her arms gently, and suddenly a stream of water shot towards Jenny out of thin air. Jenny used her transformation magic and jumped up to avoid Juvia's attack. However, Juvia's water flow suddenly folded again in midair, and at the same time, another water flow appeared out of thin air, and suddenly blocked the route that Jenny wanted to avoid. Swish. The next moment, Jenny's body was directly trapped by the current of Juvia's water, and the whole person was bound tightly by the long whip formed by the current, unable to move. Damn, Jenny struggled, but it was a pity that Juvia's magic power was stronger than her. The arm slammed again, and another rapidly blazing water blade landed on Jenny's body. Jenny screamed, her body that couldn't move was smashed out and she fell to the ground. Juvia wins. Fairy Tail Team B, plus 10 points. The referee's voice sounded, and everyone remembered Juvia in this one-sided battle. In the ups and downs of the scene, Juvia returned to the audience. Nice job, Juvia. Naruto nodded in approval. Thank you Lord Naruto. Juvia got the praise from Naruto, and she was in a happy mood. She participated in the competition in order to perform well in front of Naruto. It's great, with a face full of Yuhi's color. In this way, Fairy Tail Team B has won 2 consecutive games, and today it suddenly became 31 points. Yeah, but the Tiger of Swordbite is still close behind. If they win the next game, our advantage will only be 1 point. Look, the fourth game is on. Following the referee's announcement, Naruto looked towards the field. Ms. Yukino of the Swordbite Tiger vs Miss Kagura of the Mermaid Chong. Immediately, cheers erupted from the audience. Wow wow wow, this is another beauty showdown. In the Swordbite Tiger team, Sting looked at Shuinai and said lightly, "You should understand the meaning of your role in this team, right?" Shuinai nodded and said calmly, "The premise of participating in the war in the name of not humiliating the sword-biting tiger, must win is the meaning of my existence here." In the team of the Mermaid Zhang, Kagura walked towards the arena with a calm face, and the companions behind her were full of confidence in her. "Come on Kagura, you must win. The opponent is that sword-biting tiger, he should be very strong." Kagura's expression remained unchanged, and he walked forward with no expression on his face. "Don't worry, I have seen clearly the path guided by my sword." The two finally entered. All full of energy. The tiger that bites the sword, the people in that guild are all very powerful. Everyone was talking. At this time, the referee introduced again. Kagura is the strongest magician in the Mermaid Zhang, and is also the most respected female magician in Magic Weekly. It was the first time for Shui to compete against her, but she came from the strongest sword-biting tiger. What about her strength? Please look forward to it. The referee's introduction is not necessarily, and the audience at the scene is even more excited. Please advise. Before the start of the game, the two saluted each other. Naruto frowned slightly, and he could feel that the magic power contained in Yukino's opponent, the woman called Kagura, was definitely not under Urza. This time, I am afraid that Shuinuo is going to lose. However, although Shuiluo knew the strength of the opponent, in order not to disgrace the name of the guild, she still maintained the greatest confidence and arrogance. Before the fight, she suddenly said to Kagura, "How about our next bet?" Kagura was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Sorry, I'm not interested." Shuinai said lightly, "Are you afraid that you will lose?" "No, there is no need for such a hasty gamble, because no matter who fails, he must keep his promise, so let's avoid it." Kagura said lightly. Naruto smiled slightly. This woman is not bad, she seems to know that she will win. Is she considering Shuinai's life? It's just that Shuinai seems to be bound to win this game. In order to create momentum and make up her mind, she said solemnly, "This is a serious gamble. Take your life as a gamble. Do you dare?" Hearing this, Kagura looked solemn, and finally looked up at her. "Okay, since you have the determination and sincerity, then I have to treat each other with courtesy. This gamble is accepted below." Really, this fight seems to be going in an incredible direction. The referee couldn't help but exclaimed as the two of them spoke. The audience was also aroused by the tense atmosphere and stretched their necks to watch. Only Naruto shook his head and sighed. This time, Yukino is probably going to suffer. Although she is a member of the Tiger of Swordbite, her celestial magic is not much stronger than that of Lucy. Compared with Kagura, it is too reluctant. 950. The second day of the game is over. The battle between the two finally begins. As a celestial magician, Shuinai actually holds two keys of the zodiac sign, Pisces, Libra. And she can also open a door at the same time like Lucy, and let the two Protoss come out to fight together. However, Kagura was able to handle the attack of her two star spirits with ease, and the knife in her hand never came out of its sheath. This made Shuinai feel the pressure, and hurriedly took out her strongest key, the 13th key. It is the key above the zodiac, and the Ophiuchus was summoned on the spot. It was an incomparably huge snake, which immediately shocked everyone around. "I didn't expect that she is also a star spirit wizard. And she has such a powerful key," Lucy exclaimed. "The people who bite the tiger with the sword are indeed very powerful," Natsu said excitedly. However, Naruto frowned slightly. In the next instant, Kagura suddenly moved in the shape of a snake, and suddenly rushed forward with the knife in his hand. Immediately afterwards, I saw her figure flashed, and in an instant, she broke through the defense of Ophiuchus, directly injuring it, and rushing towards Shuinai without reducing her speed. How is that possible? Shuinai didn't expect that after he summoned Ophiuchus, he was instantly killed by the opponent. At this moment, she has no way to protect herself. Afterwards, Kagura's sword with a scabbard slashed gently on Yukino's body. With a bang, Yukino fell to the ground. There was a look of astonishment on his face. You will lose. As a member of the Swordbite Tiger, he actually lost to a guild like the Mermaid Zhang. At this moment, she just can't accept it. But it was the truth, and there was no way she could not accept it. Kagura stood proudly in front of her, looking down at her. You failed, but your life will be kept for you first. Any objections? No, no, Shuinai replied. In a flash, Kagura left the arena and returned to Mermaid Zhang's team. Shuinai was still on the ground. All her celestial spirits returned to the celestial spirit world at the moment she was knocked down, and she herself was dumbfounded and could not accept this reality, being knocked down so easily. She was still so confident before. It looks like, but now it has to be left to die. Unable to accept the reality, she finally couldn't help crying. The confidence and arrogance she had shown before were all shattered by Kagura's blow at this moment. Naruto shook his head. Yukino's performance wasn't bad, but it was because he met that black long straight girl Kagura, who was much stronger than her. Today's last game, Mermaid Zhang's Kagura wins. Mermaid Zhang adds 10 points. There were loud cheers from the audience. Kagura returned to his team. Kagura's performance is really amazing. He has regained his previous disadvantage in one fell swoop. Kagura is the strongest in our guild, how could it possibly lose? Kagura looked calm. At the end of the day's competition today, the guild finally rearranged the nouns. Fairy Tail Team B ranked first with 31 points, Crow's Tail second with 24 points, Fairy Tail Team A third with 21 points, Swordbite Tiger fourth with 20 points, Mermaid Zhang is the fifth with 19 points, Cyan Pegasus is the sixth with 17 points, the Scales of the Snake Heim is eighth and seventh, and the Four-Headed Hound is the last with 1 point. This is the score ranking until the second day of the competition. I hope that the guilds that are behind will not be discouraged and make persistent efforts tomorrow. The next step is to disperse, and go back separately. Fairy Tail AB teams won the game and won the recognition of the audience. As the number one in the past several sessions, the Tiger of Sword Biting has frequently lost in this competition. The Big Crow's tail is strong, and has won the second advantage so far. In short, this year's conference, there have been many variables, making the audience even more excited. Back at the hotel, Naruto received news from Princess Emerald just after a short rest. He teleported to Princess Emerald's bedroom. Princess Emerald was sitting on the edge of the bed at this time, brushing her hair lightly. Princess Emerald, what's the matter with me? Princess Jade turned back and smiled softly. Can't I find you if I'm okay? The smile on her face seems to have changed a bit. It seems to be a genuine smile. The corners of her mouth are slightly raised, her eyes are completed with the moon kiba, and it seems that her well-dressed face is extremely beautiful. You're very busy. I don't believe that you will come to me if you have nothing to do. Naruto waved his hand. Tell me, did something go wrong with the plan? After hearing this, Princess Jade couldn't help showing a look of grievance on her face, and said angrily, I really didn't lie to you, I just asked you to accompany me to play on the street outside. Really? Naruto said stunned. Yeah, didn't you say that I don't want a little girl at all? Now I want to eat and play, which is always what a girl of my age should do, right? Princess Emerald stood up and walked over to him. He held his arm by his side. Just use your magic to fly me out, shall we go shopping together? There was a hint of begging in her voice, which really made Naruto feel a little girly. Okay. Naruto wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. He didn't expect the Emerald Princess to change so much. Could it be because his preaching was effective? He nodded, stopped thinking about it, and agreed to her. Seeing his promise, Princess Emerald smiled happily. Hold me and fly with you, Naruto said. Yeah. Emerald Princess hurriedly embraced Naruto's arm. The next moment, the figure in the bedroom flashed, and the two had disappeared into the air. When they appeared, the two were already outside. On the bustling streets, it is now dusk. The city under the sunset seems to be covered with a layer of gold, which is quiet and beautiful. Emerald Princess suddenly shouted, Naruto, take me to the highest place. The highest place. That should be the top of the palace, but I can also fly you directly. Naruto smiled. Okay, I want to fly. I want to fly. The Emerald Princess clapped and cheered, pulling his arm and shaking, acting like a little girl with him. Naruto couldn't help laughing. This is the lively atmosphere a little princess should have. He nodded. Well, you have to be ready. Yeah, Princess Emerald nodded heavily. 951. Happy Princess. Naruto stretched out his hand, and the next moment he placed it on her slender waist. Across the light and gorgeous long skirt, he could immediately feel the delicate body of the princess. Princess Emerald trembled slightly, a dazed Yuhi flew over her face inadvertently, raised her head and glanced at him quietly, and leaned towards him. Then, Naruto grabbed her waist and flew her straight into the sky. There was no need to borrow any kind of magic or any props. Naruto's body naturally flew in midair, rose all the way, crossed the top of the palace, and appeared in the sky above 1,000 meters. Wow, wow, well, so high. How did you do it, Naruto? Is this flying magic? Why can you fly so high? Emerald Princess yelled, her jade arms tightly wrapped around Ming-A Person's neck, for fear of falling off. Smelling the fragrance on the girl's body, Naruto had a special feeling, and his mood also became more comfortable. Naruto, can you be a little taller? I want to see the whole country. Princess Emerald cried excitedly. No problem. Naruto's body continued to rise, and every moment he flew above the clouds. Above the clouds, it was surprisingly calm. The sun slanted over, it was warm, and it felt like a dream, like being in heaven. Princess Emerald closed her eyes and took a deep breath. This feeling is really good. The Emerald Princess looked down at the entire capital, the country, and the vast land, mountains, rivers and rivers under the clouds. Such a beautiful world, I will never let it be destroyed, said Emerald Princess suddenly. You're really worrying about such a big world. Even with my power, I can't destroy it. How can I let Jareth and Hylong destroy them? Remember, people are always just ants in front of nature, Naruto said, looking at her. Hee, you seem to be more powerful than Jareth and Hylong. Emerald Princess rolled his eyes at him. Hey, forget it if you don't believe me. Can Black Dragon and Jareth take you to such a high place? At least in this respect, prove that I am better than them. Naruto sighed. Push. Princess Emerald couldn't help laughing. Okay, I know you're good. But it's not that easy to deal with Jareth and Hylong. Seeing her like this, Naruto knew that she still didn't believe in her own strength. Since the Master's power of origin. Although the power of Jareth and Hylong was very strong at the beginning, their Master's power is only the power of destruction, and he did not understand this as well as himself. The origin of the world does not possess the power to integrate with the whole world. The power of the source, this is the power that makes oneself invincible. What's wrong? Are you angry? Princess Emerald asked aloud when she found that Naruto was silent. No, it's nothing, I was just thinking, when will Jareth and Hylong appear? I really want to fight them. Naruto returned to his senses and said. Really, talking big again. Princess Emerald shook her head helplessly. After a while, the two finally came down from the clouds and fell back to the ground. The Emerald Princess's feet still felt light and light. This really seems like a dream. I'm so old, and I even walked over the clouds. Princess Jade was a little unsteady at her feet, and her delicate body leaned on Naruto and sighed with emotion. I can take you there next time if you like, Naruto said with a smile. That's what you said. I'll find you in the future, so don't refuse. Princess Jade's eyes flashed with joy, looking up at him and saying, "How can I go back on what I said?" Seeing her so cute and innocent appearance, Naruto couldn't help reaching out and rubbing her hair. This intimacy made Princess Emerald's face look big. Yuhi. She is the princess of a country, and she is actually being touched by Naruto on the head like this. If the ministers in the kingdom see this, they will definitely lose their eyes. "Okay, it's getting late, I'll take you back." Naruto looked at the sky. The sun had already set, and although it wasn't dark yet, there were still a steady stream of pedestrians on the street, but the princess came out. With so much time outside, the people in the palace should also be anxious. "No, I want to play for a while." Princess Emerald touched her stomach and suddenly said, "Let's go eat. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten the food outside the palace for a long time." Seeing that she really liked playing outside, Naruto had to agree to her again. "Well, when it's time to be blamed by your father, the king, don't blame me." It's all right. Princess Emerald cheered, pulling Naruto to the restaurant next to her. Suddenly, Princess Emerald glanced at a luxurious hotel next to her, and saw that the guild members of the Swordbite Tiger were pouring into it. What happened? Why did they all gather together? Princess Emerald asked curiously. "This is the hotel where the Swordbite Tigers Guild rests. Maybe they have something to gather for," Naruto guessed. Could it be that they are discussing ways to deal with you? Naruto, Fairy Tail is now the #1. The people of the Tiger Bite will definitely find a way to defeat you. Emerald Princess suddenly smiled and said, "Why don't we sneak in and see what they are discussing?" When Naruto heard this, he suddenly stretched out his finger and slapped her bright white forehead. "This is the secret of the other people's guild, how can we just listen to it? And we don't bother to listen to other people's arrangements." "Hey, how pain." The princess of the Jade licks his head and looked at him with his mouth. "I am for you. I really can't do anything about you." Naruto shook his head helplessly. The current Emerald Princess is completely different from the girl who was good at calculating before. Naruto felt that she was cuter now. So, at the request of Princess Emerald, Naruto stepped into the crowd and entered the hotel. Although entering and exiting this place requires strict inspection, with Naruto's strength, after using a little trick, even if he stands directly in front of the other party's president, he will never be discovered. He and Emerald Princess quietly entered this luxurious hotel, and came to a wide hall with everyone. "It's really exciting," Princess Emerald said to Naruto excitedly. 952, Yukino. Naruto used invisibility to hide the bodies of the two and followed them into the hall. Princess Emerald stood beside Naruto and spoke in a low voice, surrounded by members of the Swordbite Tiger, but no one could find them. "It's really amazing," Princess Emerald exclaimed. Naruto smiled lightly. "This is just a little trick. The master has the power of the source. In this world, his power is equivalent to an omnipotent existence. This girl really underestimates herself." At this time, a sturdy old man appeared in the center of the hall, with a majestic look on his face. The team of Swordbite Tiger, Sting, Rog, Origa, Rufus, Shuenai, came to him and reported the specific details of the competition to him. The president of the Swordbite Tiger, as the strongest guild, he is indeed full of momentum. Princess Jade said in a low voice. Naruto shook his head disdainfully. At this time, the bearded leader said, "This time, the Tiger of Swordbite came in 4th place. What a bunch of rubbish. Shame on our guild. Think about it for me, why can we stand on the top of all the magicians' guilds? Don't take a second glance at the bugs around, don't talk to them, you have to ravage them. What we are looking at is something more powerful. The sky is roaring for me, the earth is boiling for me, the sea is silent for me, this is the tiger biting by the sword," the leader said with great momentum. Everyone was shocked. Princess Emerald also seemed to be taken by his momentum, with a look of surprise. Naruto frowned slightly. He didn't agree with the leader's words. He compared the people around him to bugs. Just this kind of statement made people disgusted. However, it is precisely because of such a leader that this guild is so arrogant. But this is also their business. It has nothing to do with Naruto. He is just here to be a spectator and play with Princess Jade. At this time, the leader called again, Sting. Yes. Sting stood up with a helpless expression on his face. I'm giving you a chance. Don't give me a second chance. The leader said lightly. Sting, who is usually arrogant, can only bow his head in front of the leader at this time. Thank you very much, I will never live up to your expectations. The leader nodded. Shui now. Yes. Shuinai also stood up, bowing her head slightly, as if accepting punishment. Leader looked at her and frowned. You have no room for defense, do you know it well? Huh, Miss Shuinai is going to be miserable. Princess Emerald exclaimed softly. Naruto nodded. Failure is punished, which is very common in guilds. Shuinai lowered her head and admitted her mistake. I'm sorry boss, I lost to other guilds, insulted the name of the tiger of sword biting, and am willing to be punished. Snapped. Suddenly, a bunch of grapes was thrown from the leader's hands and smashed hard on Shuinai's face. The grape juice splashed all over her face and stained her hair and face. Shuinai lowered her head slightly, not daring to resist. She stood there with her eyes closed and bit Silver Kiba slightly, letting the leader's anger vent. How can this be? Princess Emerald exclaimed. She was greatly surprised by the leader's attitude. The other guild members were also silent, daring to make any sound. If Naruto didn't use the barrier to control the voices of the two of them, he would definitely be discovered at this time. It's not that simple. As a sword-biting tiger, you took your life as a bet, but you lost, and in the end you were sympathized by the enemy. The leader then exclaimed furiously. Shuinai's face was expressionless. At this time, she was disheartened. Her lack of strength has humiliated the reputation of the guild. She was willing to accept any punishment. She said, I'm sorry, leader, I will accept any punishment. Take off my clothes for me. The leader said coldly. Shuinai's body was shocked and her heart was sad, but this was the leader's order. No matter what she was told, she could not disobey. As long as she was still a member of the Tiger of Sword Biting, she had to obey. An iron order that cannot be disobeyed. When hearing this order, the other members around didn't make any sound, and they all stood there with expressionless faces, daring to say anything or show any expressions. This is the majesty of the leader. This is the discipline of the guild. Yes, Shui now responded lightly, and began to reach out and take off the cloak on her body. Hey, Naruto, Miss Yukino is really going to take off her clothes. Princess Jade exclaimed, will you stop her? As a girl, Princess Emerald certainly knew what this meant. In front of everyone, she stripped off her clothes and showed her naked body completely in front of everyone for everyone to watch. She even thought about this scene. Can't even think about it. However, Shuinuo was to be treated like this at this time. Seeing this scene, Naruto also frowned. I didn't expect that this time because of Princess Jade's naughty, I would encounter such a thing. Speaking of which, this is a matter of their guild, and Shuinai is also a member of their guild, so he really has no reason to intervene. However, it is really unbearable to watch a girl suffer such a big insult in front of her. Just when Yukino's hand undid her cape, revealing the white long skirt inside, a wave of air suddenly spread to her side. Immediately afterwards, Shuinuo couldn't help but feel a moment, and the movement of undressing froze there, with a look of surprise on his face. What's the matter? The leader looked at her and asked coldly, do you want to disobey my order? It's very simple, you can die. The leader stood up and was about to step forward to crush her when he saw Shuinai suddenly wave at him uncontrollably. The leader was shocked and angry when he saw this. Shuinai, how dare you disobey my orders and still want to resist me? However, Shuinai also had a panicked expression on her face, but her body came to the leader at a strange speed, and then, with a light snap, Shuinai slapped the leader on the face. The sound was crisp and reverberated throughout the hall. The leader stood there dumbfounded, his arms still in the posture of wanting to grab Shuina, and he looked at Shuina in disbelief. Boss, Shuinuo said in a panic. The others exclaimed in surprise, and their faces were all overwhelmed. Shui now, so it is. You are hiding so deeply. Boss, no, it's not me. Shuinai panicked. 953, help. Who else can you have? You can actually bypass my attack and hit me. Shuinai, you, very good. The leader exuded a powerful momentum. He wanted to punish and insult this woman, but he didn't expect that in front of everyone, she was slapped in the face and insulted in turn. This kind of humiliation is simply driving people crazy. And Shuinai was also inexplicable at this time. She felt that her body was suddenly pulled by a force in the air, completely out of her control, and she jumped up and slapped the leader. What is going on? Shuinai was shocked and confused. She stared at her palm in disbelief. This is bad, Roger said in a cold sweat. Shuinai would actually do such a thing. Sting was also shocked. They knew that Shuinai, who had just joined the Swordbite Tiger Guild a month ago, was a pure rookie, and this time the eldest lady was out of work so she was replaced. Speaking of which, the loss in this competition is not entirely to blame. However, now Shuinai's actions have completely subverted the thinking of everyone present. A pure newcomer, a girl with low strength, dares to hit the leader in the face. This is something that no one in the entire guild dared to do in history. The leader is the center of everyone, and what he says and does is an iron order. Unexpectedly, Shuinai would make such a crazy move. Death to me. Sure enough, the leader who reacted became angry with shame, and a powerful anger burst out from his body, which turned into substantial magical arrogance, and punched the bewildered Shuinai fiercely. If this blow is hit, Yukino's delicate body will definitely be blown up. So fragrant jade died. However, at this moment, Yukino's body suddenly moved sideways, easily avoiding the leader's attack. The leader attack failed. The powerful magic hit the air, so angry that he almost vomited blood. Damn, the leader got up again and quickly attacked Shuinuo. However, Yukino's body was like a butterfly wearing a flower, and her body only made a slight swing, and she easily avoided all the attacks of the leader. Shuinai, when did Shuinai become so strong? Also, isn't she a Protoss magician? Why can her body movements avoid such a fierce attack from the leader? Stingrog and others were greatly shocked and surprised, their faces full of disbelief. At this time, Shuinuo was dizzy and even more overwhelmed. She had no idea why her body was moving uncontrollably, and she even involuntarily fought against the leader, and the leader's attack could not touch her at all. What exactly is going on? Are you possessed by God? Finally, after the leader waved his fists and feet for a while, he finally stepped back and suddenly shouted, "Who the hell is it? Stop pretending to be a ghost behind my back. Come out for me." Everyone was slightly shocked and looked around in panic. But there were no other figures in the hall. Suddenly, a chuckle sounded in the air. It's really fun. I didn't expect Miss Yukino to become so powerful. Is this all your fault? Naruto. With this crisp voice, the two figures gradually appeared in front of everyone. It was Naruto and the Emerald Princess. Naruto smiled. I could have played for a while, but some people are going crazy, so it's not fun. He looked at the leader of the sword-biting tiger and introduced himself. First meeting, Fairy Tail, Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. It's Uzumaki Naruto. How did this guy get in here? Damn, is everything just your fault? Many members of the guild could not help shouting. Yukino stared blankly at the sudden appearance of Naruto and Princess Emerald, and murmured, Uzumaki Naruto, Princess Emerald, you guys, why are you here? Princess Jade went up to pick up the cloak and handed it to Shuinai, smiling, Miss Shuinai, the Guild of the Tiger-Biting Sword doesn't treat you as a companion. Why are you staying in such a guild? Shuinai couldn't help being stunned, overwhelmed by this sudden scene. Other members also exclaimed incessantly, Fairy Tail's strongest magician, the existence that made Juladu, who is the Holy Ten, abstain from power, and is this the princess of the kingdom? These two people actually appeared in the here. How did this event develop like this? At this time, the leader finally came back to his senses. He stared at Naruto, and said word by word, "It turns out that you are the ghost. Come to our guild of the Tiger Bite without authorization, intervene in our internal affairs. Are you trying to provoke a guild dispute?" Everyone looked at him with an expression like an enemy. Naruto waved his hand and laughed. "Accidentally, I just passed by here and suddenly saw something interesting. I definitely don't mean to fight with you." Seeing that he didn't care, the leader was even more angry. "Damn, are you challenging my bottom line?" Boom. A burst of powerful magical arrogance emerged from his body. The entire hall trembled slightly, and a powerful murderous aura filled the audience. Chief is angry. "This is terrible. If you fight Uzumaki Naruto here, the whole hotel will suffer." However, just when everyone thought that a fierce battle was about to begin, Naruto suddenly stretched out his palm and gave the leader a gentle shake. A wonderful wave enveloped him. Immediately, the leader's whole body was shaken, and the magical arrogance of the whole body receded like a tide. He sat down on the table with a slam, and crushed the fruit plate on the table into pieces. "This is not good." Naruto shook his head and said with a smile, "As the leader of the guild, you should guard against arrogance and impatience, and you should also be tolerant and generous to your subordinates, and don't treat me lightly. Release the murderous aura." He reached out and gently pulled the leader's beard, raised the corners of his mouth, evoking a faint arc, and continued, "Otherwise, you will die miserably." After speaking, the leader shook all over, and the whole person slumped from the table to the ground again, trembling all over. "Princess Emerald, let's go." Okay, but do you want to bring Yukino?" Princess Emerald asked. "Whatever you want." Naruto smiled lightly, turned and walked towards the entrance of the hall. 954. Leaving Enron. Princess Emerald stepped forward and held Shuinai. "Follow me, there is no need for this guild to stay any longer." In this situation, Yukino didn't know what to do. He didn't expect Naruto Uzumaki and Princess Emerald to break in to interfere with his guild, and he actually made the leader look so ugly. She nodded hesitantly, and had to leave with Princess Jade. You stop for me." The guild members of the Sword-Bite Tiger shouted. Naruto stopped, glanced at them, and said lightly, "Oh. Do you really want to keep us here? This is the Emerald Princess of the kingdom. Damn, our guild, are you here as soon as you want, and leave as soon as you want?" Everyone shouted. Looking at their excited appearance, Naruto's face sank, a strong momentum spread out, and suddenly, he waved his hand. The Sword-Bite Tiger all jumped backwards in unison. But Naruto didn't cast any magic, instead he stood there and laughed loudly. "Look at how nervous you are, let's forget it. Today is my rudeness. I broke into your guild without permission and did something to your leader. A little too much, so I won't say sorry, goodbye." As soon as the words fell, the silhouettes of him, Princess Jade and Shuinuo disappeared silently in front of everyone. There was silence in the hall. He's gone. How did he leave? Damn, did this guy play with us? Everyone shouted. This is simply a great shame. However, this is the end of the matter. No matter how much you feel angry, it won't help. Let's take a look at the leader's situation first. They hurried around. The leader sat on the ground, trembling all over. "Okay, so strong. Boss, what's the matter with you?" Sting cried. "The leader seems to be injured." "Damn, what the hell did that guy do?" someone shouted. At this moment, a crisp female voice suddenly sounded in the hall. "Don't worry everyone, my father is just too frightened, and he will recover in a while." Miss, are you back?" Everyone was surprised. I saw a long-haired woman with 2 buns on her head standing in the center of the hall, with a sexy body and a delicate face, with a cold and arrogant aura on her face. She is the strongest magician of the Sword-Bite Tiger, Minerva, known as the Eldest Lady. Since the Eldest Lady said so, the leader should be fine. "Yeah, but miss, what about that Uzumaki Naruto? And the traitor Yukino? They trampled on the dignity of our guild. Everyone shouted angrily. Miniba frowned slightly, and after pondering for a while, she said, "The little girl has her own thoughts on this matter, so please don't act rashly these days, and wait until the end of the great demon fight to deal with it." "Yes, miss." Everyone hurriedly responded, as if they were very afraid of the majesty of the eldest lady. Outside the Swordbite Tiger Hotel, Naruto, Emerald Princess and Yukino suddenly appeared on the street here. He glanced at the hotel behind him thoughtfully, and murmured, "A space magician. That's quite interesting. Thank you, Mr. Naruto, Princess Emerald." At this time, Shuinai suddenly thanked them and gave them a deep salute. Princess Emerald lifted her up and smiled, "You're welcome, you want to help me." "Of course I want to help you too." Snow was stunned. Naruto waved his hand. "Okay, if you have something to say, go back to the palace first. It seems that Shuenuo can't go back to the Tiger of Swordbite. I'll take you to the palace first." The next moment, Naruto stretched out his hand and pressed the shoulders of the two of them, and the figures flashed and disappeared without a trace. In Princess Emerald's bedroom, she sat beside Naruto and shouted, "Naruto, you were so amazing. You actually scared the leader of the guild to the ground. No wonder you can make the dove of the Holy Ten. Radu surrender." Naruto smiled slightly. "I told you earlier that I'm very good, but you still don't believe me." "Hee, I believe this time." Princess Jade stuck out her tongue. Suddenly, she reached out to hold Naruto's arm, and her tone became serious. "Naruto, actually I have something to discuss with you." Naruto looked down and returned to the troubled look on her face before, nodded and said, "Is it about the Eclipse project?" "Yeah." Emerald Princess nodded slightly. Naruto smiled lightly. "Although I'm not interested in the plan itself, I already knew you had a lot of things that you didn't tell me clearly." Princess Emerald nodded, frowning slightly, and said slowly, "I told you, this plan is to lead to the eradication of Jareth 400 years ago. But in fact, this is only part of this Eclipse plan. After the Eclipse plan is to use the collected magic power to launch a powerful attack magic. Eclipse Cannon. Eclipse Cannon. What is this for?" Naruto asked in surprise. "Because, at the moment when the Great Demon Doyanmu is over, there will be tens of thousands of dragons rushing over to wreak havoc on this country. And when I say destruction, I also refer to this day. And the Great Demon Doyanmu has always had another alias, that is, Dragon King Matsuri. 10,000 dragons." Hearing this news, Naruto couldn't help but be surprised. "Yes, and the only way to defend against those dragons is to use the magic power collected during these 7 years and fire them out with the Eclipse Cannon. Destroy them in one fell swoop. That's the only way to save the whole world." After Naruto heard it, he was speechless for a long time. The appearance of tens of thousands of dragons is really the Matsuri of dragons. Could it be that the dragon wants to treat the entire human being as a Matsuri product? It's not right. Naruto suddenly frowned and turned to look at Princess Emerald. "These things, a princess of your own kingdom should not be able to know about it, right? Someone else must have told you all of this." Princess Emerald was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, "Yes, I didn't expect you to realize it so quickly. Yes, all of these things were told to me by someone else, but I am also dubious about it myself. After all, the appearance of tens of thousands of dragons is too unimaginable." Hearing this, Naruto pondered for a while and nodded slightly. I seem to understand, but why are you implementing this plan now?" 955, Comfort. "Because I can't believe it. After all, this is a major event that concerns the whole country and mankind. And that person also told me about the future." Princess Emerald said, "In this big magic fight and martial arts competition, the guild will win in a way that no one could have predicted. If this is true in 3 days, then I will open the door of the solar eclipse. Execute this plan immediately." "The future," Naruto murmured. "So there is such a mysterious reason for this. No wonder you have been planning for this for 7 years." "Yeah, but I'm really tired. Will the future of the country and the future of mankind really face such a crisis?" Naruto, can you tell me whether all of this is credible? Princess Emerald looked up. Shang Naruto's eyes were full of helplessness. Seeing her expression like this, Naruto couldn't help feeling slightly touched. This is just an ordinary pampered princess, but she has been planning for the country and mankind until now. She has lost the carefree care that other children of the same age can have at this time. The thoughts in the small head are related to the survival of the world. This is indeed a lot of pressure for a little girl. Naruto looked down at her, stretched out his hand and gently embraced her in his arms, and said slowly, although I don't know if the so-called future will happen, and I don't know what the origin of the person who told you about this happened. But I want to say that as long as I am here, the future will never be dominated by anyone or anything. What about dragons? What about gods? If you dare to hurt those around me, I will block dragons and kill dragons, and gods block gods. The Emerald Princess shuddered slightly. Princess Emerald, sorry for disturbing the two of you. At this moment, an embarrassed voice suddenly came from the side. The Emerald Princess hurriedly jumped away from Naruto and stood up, her face dazed Yuhi. The good atmosphere was destroyed, and Naruto couldn't help but look to the side. The culprit was covering his mouth, and the face of Yuhi was standing there. It's Yukino. Just when the three returned to the bedroom just now, Jade found some clothes and asked her to take a shower. At this moment, she was wearing a long white lace dress, her slightly moist light blue short hair was stuck to her forehead, and her delicate and fair face had a hint of Yuhi moisturizing. It was simply beautiful. Miss Shuenuo, you're out. Princess Emerald called her. Her face was Yuhi's face. The way she was leaning against Naruto just now must have caused her to misunderstand. Damn, how can you do this? You are the princess of a country. It is really shameful to be seen leaning against a man's arms. However, Naruto's shoulders are really comfortable. She couldn't help thinking. It's time for me to take a shower. Let's talk first. Princess Emerald whispered and ran out. In some ways, the princess is still pretty cute too. Naruto looked at her back and thought. Mr. Naruto. Shuenai came to Naruto and sat down, calling him softly. Well, Miss Shuenai, you should stay with the princess for the next 2 days and have a good rest. Naruto said. However, Yukino suddenly stretched out her hand and handed 2 things to Naruto, and said in a low voice, Mr. Naruto, can you keep these 2 keys for me? I want to give them to you. As my thanks. Quote. Looking at the tender lotus-like snow-white arm that Shuenuo stretched out, and the 2 golden keys in her palm, Naruto couldn't help but be stunned. The key to the zodiac. Yes, I can't go back to the guild anymore. I am not qualified to have these 2 keys. It is the best way to give them to the powerful you. Shuenai showed reluctance in his eyes, but she still looked determined to give the key away. Seeing this, Naruto smiled lightly, pushed her hand away, and said, you really are a fragile fellow. I really don't know how you stayed in the tiger of sword biting, it was just a failure. Can you be reduced to this point? What is the most important thing for a Protoss magician? It is a Protoss who is fighting with you. Are you trying to abandon your power and partners now? Shuenai's body couldn't help shaking. She raised her head, and a line of tears suddenly flowed from her eyes. But I have no way to go back. I failed. I also humiliated the leader like that, and I will definitely be killed by the leader when I go back. Shuenai cried. At least before I die, I will entrust my star to the mighty. Miss Shuenai, you are thinking too much. Naruto waved his hand and said with a smile, you don't have to worry. Because there is nothing wrong with what you have done. If you lose the battle, everyone will have it. It is because of the sword bite. The people of the tiger will humiliate you for this, so I can't see it. Besides, you should already understand the matter of humiliating the leader. In fact, this is all caused by me. I used my power to control your body. I made you beat that big guy so hard, and it sounds like I intervened in something that bothered you. Pause. Naruto suddenly asked. Oh, by the way, didn't I feel very happy when I controlled the big guy to beat him? Shuenuo covered her mouth and stared at Naruto blankly. Tears kept streaming down her eyes, and a great feeling rose in her heart. Why are you doing this for me? I'm just someone who has nothing to do with you. I'm even a competitor of fairy tale. Yukino cried. Because I couldn't get used to it, so I took action. Anyway, it was just an effort for me. Besides, if I didn't take action at that time, Princess Emerald would definitely look down on me. Naruto laughed. He stepped forward and held her smooth and tender shoulders, with a solemn expression, and suddenly said, Miss Shuinai, don't worry about these things. The guild exists to support your companions, the leader exists to protect your companions, and one should humiliate one. Companion, the guild that makes your companions cry, don't wait. The meaning of joining a guild is to make yourself a better life. Since the guild makes you unhappy, it is very simple to leave. As long as you are happy, you can join the guild or not. It doesn't matter. Naruto, Mr. Naruto, Shuenuo stared at him blankly, listening to what he said, suddenly burst into tears, and the whole person threw himself into Naruto's arms. 956. Heart of Compassion. Hey, cheer up. Naruto was slightly surprised, reached out and pushed her, but Shuinai was lying on her chest, crying and never letting go. Naruto felt that his chest had been soaked with her tears, and her snot and saliva were all on his body. Feeling her tender shoulders trembling incessantly, Naruto smiled bitterly, slowly folded his arms, and hugged her in his arms. Shuinai seemed to want to vent all the grievances she had received, and kept crying. I don't know how long it took, she finally seemed to be tired of crying, and she slowly calmed down, lying in Naruto's arms and motionless, like it was curled up like a kitten. Naruto Chunin couldn't help but feel a hint of love and pity, and Yukino like this is really heart-wrenching. At this time, a figure came over. Naruto, she seems to be asleep. It was Princess Emerald. She had already come out of the bath, and her clothes had already been changed. It seemed that she had been waiting for a long time. Princess Emerald, she will be handed over to you, let her have a good rest. Naruto gently picked up Shuenuo in his arms, put her on the big bed behind him, and covered her with a quilt. Relieved. Came to the window with Princess Emerald. Naruto said, it's getting late, I should go back. Princess Emerald nodded slightly. Wait. Just as Naruto was about to disappear in a teleport, Princess Emerald suddenly stretched out her hand to grab him, and then she stretched out her jade arm and hugged Naruto's waist from behind. Naruto's body trembled slightly. The Emerald Princess. Naruto, no matter what, thank you for playing with me today, this is the happiest day of my childhood. I will always remember it in my heart, even if this world is destroyed, I will not forget today. Emerald Princess Yu opening. Princess Emerald. Naruto opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but was stopped by her. Don't call me princess, call me Jade. Jade hugged his waist tightly and said. Jade, don't think too much, it can make you happy, and I'm very happy, but such happy days will never end here. I promise you, no matter how the situation develops, I will protect you. Absolutely, I won't let you get hurt. Naruto solemnly promised that at this moment, he had made up his mind to protect this distressed princess. He admitted that he had some prejudice against the princess before, but after she confessed everything, he no longer felt that she was a calculating woman, she was just a human who wanted to protect her country and future, and a princess with righteousness. This is simply invaluable. Princess Emerald had a gentle look on her face when she heard this. She hugged Naruto's waist like this, closed her beautiful eyes slightly, and quietly felt the sweetness of this moment. When Naruto came back from the bedroom, it was already very late. After staying with Princess Emerald for a while, he learned that the person who told her everything was a guy who appeared and disappeared like a shadow, and behaved very mysteriously. However, it was precisely because Princess Jade told Naruto everything that he felt that things were not so simple. The guy who told the princess where the future is going can only have two possibilities. One is that he really came from the future and knows what Akatsuki is about to happen now, and the other is that he has the ability to predict the future and can see to the future direction. However, no matter what kind it is, Naruto has reason to suspect that the purpose behind the guy is not pure, and there must be some conspiracy hidden. And Princess Emerald is also very likely to be used by that guy. It's a pity that in the past few days, there have been no unusual characters around Princess Emerald. Otherwise, Naruto would have to pull him out and ask him clearly. In the hotel where the Swordbite Tiger is located. The leader sat on the big sofa, the whole person was gloomy. Father, let's put Shuinai's affairs aside for now. That trash left will have no effect on our guild. Tomorrow I will participate in the competition in person and regain the honor for the Swordbite Tiger. Miss Minerva said lightly. Humph. What this old man cares about the most is not Yukino, but that guy Uzumaki Naruto. The president narrowed his eyes and said angrily, this guy's strength is unfathomable. None of you will be his opponent. Even me is far worse. However, Shunai is a traitor, the old man must not keep her. Father, I know this, but even if the opponent is strong, as long as we avoid him, the game will not necessarily be lost. In short, for now, it's better to stabilize for now and stop contacting him. Now, even if you are unlucky to meet him, let him play a game. As for Yukino, she is likely to be protected by famous Uzumaki now, and even Princess Emerald is involved in this, so her business is let's hold off for a while. Minerva said, her tone also quite helpless. After all, the appearance of Naruto is the biggest accident in this competition. They are because there is no one who can match him. If they go to deal with Shuinuo, they are likely to encounter Naruto. Damn, when will our sword-biting tiger be so afraid of a person? Origa slapped his fist fiercely. The other party is really too strong. There is really no way. Rufus said with a frown. But the other party has humiliated our guild so much, and this account can't be easily settled. This little slut, Shui Nai, leave it to the little girl. Minerva said suddenly. In the hotel where Fairy Tail is located. Naruto returned to the room to rest, but suddenly saw a figure sitting on the bed in his room. Juvia. Naruto went in and saw that it was Juvia, with a surprised look on his face. Is something wrong? He asked. Juvia's face was slightly yuhi, her hands were clasped together, she looked up at Naruto and said, Lord Naruto, I won a game today and I was injured, can you treat Lucy like you did? Can you treat me too? Huh, hearing this, Naruto couldn't help stunned. Hee, I know it. I asked Lucy yesterday, and she told me everything. Naruto-sama's treatment is very comfortable. Juvia wants to try it too. 957. Hearing Juvia's words, Naruto's forehead sweated. What did Lucy tell her? What kind of treatment is very comfortable? Of course that method is very comfortable. But how can you tell Juvia? I heard that after being treated by Naruto-sama, there will be no trace of injury left on the body. Juvia's eyes were full of little stars, looking longing. Well, that's what it was referring to. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief when he heard it. It seems that Lucy didn't say anything superfluous. It's no wonder, if Lucy would talk nonsense, Juvia wouldn't be the way it is now. Okay, you fought hard today, I'll help you treat it. Naruto thought of this and nodded. Wow, that's great. Lord Naruto, Juvia loves you to death. Juvia cheered, hugged the back of Naruto's hand, and put his body on him and said tenderly. Feeling the softness and elasticity of her body, Naruto became a little uneasy and coughed softly. Get on the bed and lie down. Take off all your clothes. Juvia heard this. Yuhi's face suddenly turned pale. Do you have to take off your clothes if you want to lie down on the bed? What kind of development is this? Could it be that Naruto-sama wants to have a deeper contact with himself? What? That's so embarrassing. Juvia thought while holding her hot cheeks. Juvia, Naruto called out again, seeing that she still hadn't reacted. Ah, yes. Juvia came back to her senses, hurriedly responded, and began to undress. As the furry clothes on the outside were taken off, the smooth white and tender skin inside was immediately revealed. She wore a black hood on her chest, and her huge breasts with E-cups stood heavily in front of Naruto, exuding an ambiguous and seductive atmosphere. "Lord Naruto, don't look at Juvia like this," Juvia said with an angry face. Feeling Naruto's scorching gaze, Juvia's heart was about to melt, and he lost his strength when he took off his clothes. As soon as his body softened, he fell into Naruto's arms. Naruto quickly caught her. "What's wrong with you, Juvia?" Naruto supported her delicate body and looked down, only to find that her face was full of dizziness, and her eyes were full of intoxication. She raised her soft lips slightly and opened it slightly, sending a seductive breath towards him. Naruto's heart jumped. He didn't expect Juvia to become so charming, which was completely different from the shy and innocent look before. "Lord Naruto, I want to get you." Juvia had been waiting for Naruto for a long time, but she couldn't bear it. She opened her arms and took the initiative to stick it up. Her soft lips were ruthlessly printed on Naruto's mouth. Four lips met. Juvia was stunned, and Naruto was also stunned. A faint fragrance drifted into Naruto's nose, which seemed to be the fragrance of Juvia's body. At this moment, her body was leaning softly in her arms, and those soft lips made people so intoxicated. Naruto couldn't help sticking out his tongue and making a slight movement. Juvia's body shook, and he also quietly stuck out his tongue, making contact with Naruto. So soft, so sweet. Naruto couldn't help but have such an idea in his heart. Immediately afterwards, he pressed down and pushed Juvia onto the bed at once. Juvia let out a soft cry, raised her head, and opened her mouth to meet Naruto's attack. Naruto-sama, she murmured while kissing Naruto, with an intoxicated look on her face. With a wave of Naruto's hand, the door was tightly closed, and seeing Juvia's entire body being pressed down by him, with his fair and round shoulders exposed to the air, looked particularly attractive. "Juvia, I'll help you heal now." Looking at Juvia's intoxicated eyes, Naruto knew that she had been waiting for this moment for an inexplicable amount of time, and she had always admired her so much himself, shouting to himself over and over after him, "How pure friendship is that, how could he ignore it?" However, Naruto also knows that he has more and more women, and some of the current relationships are already very troublesome. If they join them one by one, it will only become more troublesome. He never thought in his heart that every girl gets along well and sleeps together, but it is a little far from reality, so he no longer delusionally wants to get the favor of one girl after another, no longer delusional desire to open up a large harem, but hope to deal with the existing girls, so that they will not be sad. However, life is often full of uncertainty. Just like at this time, under the circumstance of Juvia's erotic seduction, he could no longer keep his restraint. Looking at the girl in front of him who loved him deeply, Naruto found that he was deeply attracted to her. His hand, along the fiery cheeks of Juvia, slid across her tender white neck, and gently landed on her black hood. "Well, Naruto-sama, please enjoy my body to the fullest." Juvia also saw the fire in Naruto's eyes. Her heart was beating wildly, and her face was full of shame. Said. Boom. Juvia's words finally destroyed all of Naruto's hesitations. He slammed the black hood on Juvia's chest, and the two jade maiden peaks immediately jumped out, shaking constantly, bringing the with waves. Sudden. Naruto was shocked. All movements stopped. Juvia froze, raised her head slightly and opened her eyes slightly to look at him. "Naruto-sama, what's the matter? Yes, is it Juvia's body that makes you dislike it?" A look of helplessness flashed on Naruto's face. He sighed slightly, got up and put on Juvia's clothes again, apologizing. "Juvia, I'm sorry, I have something urgent to deal with right now. You go back to your room now. Go and wait for me in your bed." Juvia was stunned when she heard the words. Why is this? What's the matter in such a hurry that there is a spoiler at this time? Pity. Just a little bit to get Naruto-sama's love. How can this be so? Juvia cried out in her heart. However, when she heard the words behind Naruto, her jade face suddenly turned into Yuhi. She turned her head and said in a low-pitched voice, Okay, Juvia is waiting for you. Naruto smiled slightly, leaned over and kissed her on the face lightly, and then his figure flashed, and a Hiraishin technique disappeared. 958. Snow is gone. 5 more. Emerald Princess's bedroom. Naruto instantly appeared in the room. The Emerald Princess was walking around anxiously in her pajamas. What's the matter? You suddenly came to me so late. Naruto asked as soon as he appeared. Princess Emerald took his hand and said anxiously, Naruto, it's not good, Miss Shuinai is gone. What? Naruto was slightly startled. Why did Shuinai disappear? He suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. It's like this, just now she slept in my bed. I wanted to find another room to sleep in, and then I couldn't sleep, so I came back and planned to sleep with her and chat by the way, but I didn't expect that as soon as I came back here, I found that Miss Shuinai on the bed was gone. No matter how I looked, I couldn't find it. Princess Jade said anxiously. Shui now suddenly disappeared. Did you leave the bedroom? Impossible. I had people watching at the door of my bedroom, and there were maids in the room to look after them. Princess Emerald frowned, but when I entered the room, I found that those maids had nothing to do with it. I don't know, Miss Yukino seems to have disappeared out of thin air. Disappeared out of thin air. Naruto couldn't help but be taken aback. Naruto, now I have sent people to look around in the palace. I hope to find her as soon as possible, otherwise the solar eclipse plan will start. Princess Jade sighed. Naruto suddenly waved his hand, then pressed her down on the bed, and said in a deep voice, Jade, you don't have to look for it anymore, I think I know Shuinai's whereabouts. Where is it? Luxurious hotel, all kinds of magic lamps exude gorgeous colors. In the basement of this hotel, in a dark room. Dark Yuhi torches lit up the small room. Hey, Shuinai, do you think you can escape by climbing on Uzumaki? Naruto and Princess Emerald? The leader smiled gloomily. Dare to betray the sword-bite tiger, collude with outsiders, and treat me as a leader. This kind of thing is absolutely unforgivable. Quote. The leader touched his cheek, and there seemed to be burning pain there. That was where Shuinai slapped him with a slap. With this slap, His Majesty as the leader was wiped out. At this moment, looking at the girl in front of him, the leader was furious. The old man is going to let you have a good feeling today. What will happen if you offend the tiger of Swordbite and offend the old man? You guys, hang her up with chains. The leader instructed a few of his subordinates, and tied Shuinai's hands and feet with heavy chains, then pulled her around, and then rose, leaving her whole body hanging in the air, showing her upside down in front of everyone. It's such a beautiful woman. You used to be a member of the guild, and the old man wouldn't do anything to you, but now, the old man will let you taste what is more severe humiliation. The leader stepped forward, stretched out his hand, and immediately she tore off half of the pajamas on Shuinuo's body, revealing the underwear inside, showing her delicate body as white as jade in front of everyone. You can't. Shuinai's entire body was tied up and unable to move. At this moment, she could only watch the leader and these guys do whatever they wanted. She bit Silver Kiba tightly, biting out a few pieces from her mouth. Words. Ha, how dare you speak hard. Shuinai, although you haven't been in the guild for a long time, don't you still know how this old man behaves? That is to do what he says. No matter what, your body, this old man is a humiliation. It's settled. Not only that, but you can also join in. The leader laughed, and his diehard loyalists on the side heard a gloomy smile on their faces. Shuinai can be regarded as a great beauty in the guild, and usually no one dares to touch her, but now, she is just a sinner. Touching her body is humiliating her and carrying out the order of the leader. Yukino closed her eyes, tears of despair flowing from the corners of her eyes. Sure enough, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape this tragic fate in the end. Mr. Naruto, you saved me once, but you can't save me a second time. Instead, why did you save me before, gave me hope, and now fall into such great despair? I hate you. Shuinai trembled inwardly and looked helpless. Don't want to beg Uzumaki Naruto to save you. This time, Minerva did it herself. Her space magic can be concealed to the greatest extent. Even if Uzumaki Naruto is strong, it will never take a day to find you. It's been 2 days. But don't worry. This old man won't let you die right away. This old man will let every member of the guild come for your turn. Let you feel like a 10-10 of being destroyed physically and mentally. The leader took off himself the clothes, breathing heavily, leaned on, stretched out his thick hands, ready to tear the last layer of fabric on Yukino's body. Boom. However, at this moment, there was a sudden roar above their heads. Boss, the guild has been attacked. A guild member rushed over and shouted. What? Who is so bold? The leader was furious, but he was shocked. Yes, it is him. How is that possible? In the hotel, the door had been blasted open, and it was smashed and empty. The night wind blew in, and there were piles of human bodies at the door. Naruto stood at the door, squinting. His face was expressionless, the white royal coat on his body. The robe of God squeaked with the night wind, his blonde hair danced slightly, and the whole person exuded a mysterious and powerful aura. Sting, Rog, Origa, and Rufus stood in front of him, like a formidable enemy. Hand over Yukino. What Shui Nai? Didn't that guy rescue you? What do you mean by breaking in again? Sting yelled. Naruto frowned slightly and murmured, it seems that you don't know. Is it because the action is carried out by some people in secret? Humph. Then let your leader get out. Naruto snorted coldly. Damn, what do you think of the territory of our sword-bite tiger? Origa was furious, waving a powerful black thunderbolt and flying towards Naruto. At the same time, Rufus, Sting, and Rog all used their own magic spells. The 4 powerful magics combined together to send out an infinitely powerful force, which enveloped Naruto in an instant. 959. Naruto comes to help. Seeing this strong magical arrogance almost shrouded Naruto's entire body. All the people around showed joy. However, Naruto just slowly stretched out a hand and spread his fingers. In the next instant, the powerful magical arrogance suddenly stopped in front of Naruto. As if he was strangled by his throat, he couldn't move. Magic was also restrained by Naruto. At this moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Naruto. Dazed, shocked, unbelievable. A series of complex emotions are intertwined, making people a short-term empty space of thinking. At this moment, Naruto waved his hand, and this magic suddenly rushed back in the original direction. It was divided into 4 magic powers and slammed into the 4 people including Sting Rog. What? The 4 of them screamed, and they all fell out, their bodies slammed to the ground, and they were directly injured, unable to get up. So strong. It's really strong. With just a slight raise of his hand, he stopped the combined attack of the most powerful people in the guild, and then with a slight wave of his hand, Sting Rog and the others flew out. What magic is this? Simply unheard, unseen. Is this the strength of the Holy Ten? Is this the absolute power beyond Mr. Jura? Everyone present had a kind of fear in their hearts. This is the fear of the unknown. So powerful, who can resist? Suddenly, a slight fluctuation appeared within Naruto's perception range. The next moment, a white arm suddenly stretched out from the space behind him, and when he pressed his palm, he was about to grab him. Naruto sneered, his head seemed to have eyes, and his arm stretched back, pinching the opponent's wrist almost instantly. Immediately afterwards, he turned around and sneered, space magic. Did you take Yukino away? He pulled abruptly, and suddenly a soft cry sounded, and a figure was pulled out of the void in front of him by Naruto and fell to the ground. Miss! The surrounding people exclaimed in surprise. They looked at Naruto's eyes and became extremely frightened. The eldest lady was actually restrained. She is the strongest wizard in the guild. That powerful and strange space magic is simply impossible to guard against. Unexpectedly, the eldest lady will be caught as soon as she makes a move. Is this guy a monster? At this moment, no one dared to act rashly. They finally realized that in front of someone who could restrain the eldest lady with one blow, they were ants. No, they were worse than ants. Uzumaki Naruto, let me go. Minerva's face was frosty. She tried her best to keep calm so that she wouldn't look so flustered, but she couldn't contain the fear in her eyes. She knew very well that her strength would not be afraid even if she faced the Holy Ten, but this guy's strength really exceeded too many predictions. Miss Minerva, Naruto chuckled, grabbed her wrist and pulled her up, and said lightly, take me to Shuani, I can spare your life, otherwise, I will kill you. Quote. The murderous aura disappeared in a flash, and everyone around felt a feeling like entering an ice cellar. Boom. At this moment, the floor suddenly burst open, and a powerful magical arrogance rose into the sky and landed in front of Naruto. Look closely, it's the leader. What made Naruto angry was that at this time the leader was holding several iron chains, and there was a figure hanging on the chains. It was Shuani. At this time, she was firmly bound by the iron chain, unable to move, and could only be pulled back and forth in the hands of the leader. There was only one white underwear left on her body, almost naked. Shui now, Naruto shouted involuntarily. Shuani raised her head, revealing a panic-stricken face, and when she saw Naruto, she couldn't help but have an inexplicable look of surprise on her face. Mr. Naruto, please help me. She couldn't help shouting. Suddenly, the iron chain in the leader's hand tugged fiercely, pulling her in front of him, and then clasping her snow-white jade tender neck all at once. A look of pain suddenly appeared on Shuani's face, her face became Yuhi, and tears came out. Naruto was shocked. At this time, he couldn't control his emotions any longer. He threw Minerva out with a wave of his hand. Naruto rushed forward, dodged, and was about to come to the leader, but saw the leader holding Shuanuo's neck in front of him. If you don't want this woman to die, then immediately kneel down and apologize to the old man. The leader laughed angrily. This is the old man's guild, and you won't be allowed to run wild. Although you are powerful, you can't change anything. Naruto, sir, no, don't kneel. At this time, Shueluo said with all her might when she saw Naruto being threatened by the leader. This scene made Naruto's anger rise to a new level. He laughed angrily. Very good. Is this the leader of the Sword-Bite Tiger? You succeeded in angering me. Ha ha. It seems that this little slut Shuani is not useless. I didn't expect to see you so angry. The leader laughed wildly. But what can you do? This little slut is in my hands. My life will be lost at any time. This old man is not threatening you. This old man is carrying out the guild's punishment for traitors. S face became more and more Yuhi, and it was about to turn purple. Her eyes showed incomparable unwillingness and nostalgia, and tears fell down her white cheeks and dripped onto the ground. Hey, little slut, do you know how to regret it now? Even if you get on Uzumaki Naruto and the princess, you won't be able to escape the verdict of the Sword-Bite Tiger. Wait until you go to hell to repent. The leader yelled viciously. Naruto slowly closed his eyes. He was trying his best to mix his breath, not letting his anger dominate him. In an instant, he entered natural mode. The power of the source merges with the surroundings. A unique rhythm emanated from him. At this moment, everyone present had a bad feeling. Yes, this is a dangerous breath from the bottom of my heart. It seems that there is a feeling of being punished by heaven after offending the gods above. The leader was also slightly taken aback. At this moment, Naruto suddenly opened his eyes, and a dazzling light flashed away. 960. Kill. What kind of look is this? It seems to be the eyes that have insight into all things in an instant, the eyes of a god who is aloof. It makes people feel an unparalleled sense of oppression. The moment he opened his eyes, everyone could clearly feel that the entire space around him had changed. President of the Sword-Bite Tiger, I'll say one last sentence. Let go of Shuenuo and leave you with a corpse. Naruto said coldly. Ha ha ha, if you have the ability, you will kill the old man. See if you are fast, or the old man is fast. The leader laughed frantically. He also knew that if he let go at this moment, he would definitely be killed by this guy. He has nowhere to go. As soon as the voice fell, Naruto frowned, his eyes flashed, and his body didn't move, but everyone was surprised to find that the leader's laughter suddenly stopped, and then, the space he was in seemed to be frozen. He and Shuenuo were both dumbfounded as if the photos had been frozen. Then, Naruto raised his hand and walked towards the two of them. The leader was still motionless, his eyes were looking at the void, his eyes were blank, and he didn't know where he was looking. Space freezes. Master Naruto after entering the natural mode and integrating with the surrounding. It is a move stronger than the field, and can confine all the space within the field of vision. And this move is also the premise of creating space. He slowly stretched out his hand, reached into this frozen space, and pulled Shuenuo out of his hand. And he still maintained the previous posture, standing blankly. Chief! The surrounding people screamed in surprise, their faces anxious and fearful. What did you do to the leader? Naruto just glanced at them, ignored them, and turned to look at the girl in his arms. At this time, she was gasping for breath because of suffocation. Yuhi's jade face slowly recovered, and the large beads of sweat fell like rain on her forehead. Shuenai, are you alright? Naruto put his palm on her slender waist and quietly sent a force of life over. Shuenuo's body shook slightly, and finally returned to normal. Thank you, Mr. Naruto. She looked up at Naruto and thanked her with tears of gratitude in her eyes. I am sorry for making you suffer so much. I'm late. Naruto shook his head slightly apologetically. Hiraishin spell on her before, then he wouldn't have to wait until now to save her. Now that all the clothes on her body were taken off, only the last layer of fig leaf remained. He didn't have to think about what kind of humiliation and punishment she would face next. As he spoke, Naruto took off his imperial robe and wrapped Shuenuo's delicate body. Yukino was stunned for a moment, feeling the warm breath of Naruto's clothes draped over her body. She couldn't help crying again. Naruto, Mr. Naruto, why are you being so kind to me? I'm just an irrelevant person. Yukino threw herself in his arms, her shoulders shaking violently. For a time, only Yukino's cry was left in the hall. Everyone was silent and completely quiet. How much grievance did Shuenuo's tears and cries contain? Guild, what is it? Why do people in my own guild cry in the arms of others in the end? Stingrog and others couldn't help but have such an idea in their hearts. Okay, Shuenuo, don't cry anymore, there are a lot of people watching here, let's go back when things are done. Naruto put an arm around her thin shoulder and comforted her softly. Shuenai raised Yuhi's fluttering eyes, and then realized that a large group of people around were looking at him, then quickly lowered his head, and nodded lightly in Naruto's arms. Naruto sighed, he looked around the surrounding guild members, and said slowly, I know you may be innocent, and I don't plan to kill, so today I will eliminate the culprit of all this. Off, do you have any objections? Everyone dared not speak. Because at this time, Naruto's momentum has been fully released. Except for Yukino, everyone around was unable to move under this vague aura. I don't even have the strength to speak. In everyone's heart, there is only fear left. Is it acquiescence if you don't speak? Naruto's mouth twitched slightly, then nodded, then I'm welcome. Slam, he stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers, and Shuenai disappeared in place. Call. Everyone in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. However, when they looked at where the leader was, they saw that countless blood arrows were being shot from the leader's body. Chief. The crowd quickly gathered around. However, the leader was shocked, with infinite shock and unwillingness in his eyes, and there was a gasping sound in his throat, and then his body suddenly divided into countless pieces of flesh and blood, and they fell into one place with a clatter. Yuhi's, white, green, objects of various colors flowed all over the place. This scene caused the people present to spit out with a wow. Some timid girls screamed in horror and ran away quickly. This time, the entire guild was a sensation. And in the princess's bedroom, The culprit, Naruto, appeared here with Yukino. Shui now, it's safe now, Naruto said after releasing her. Well, thank you, Mr. Naruto. Shuenuo bowed his head and thanked again. Okay, Shuenai, don't call me Mr. Sir, just call me Naruto. You are now out of the Swordbite Tiger Guild, what are you going to do in the future? Naruto helped her to sit on Princess Emerald's bed. Down. Hearing the words, Shuenai fell silent for a while, speechless. Yes, I have always been proud of the sword-biting tiger, and I dreamed of joining this strongest guild. A month ago, I finally realized my dream, but now the cruel reality tells me that everything is not what I imagined. Good. What are you looking for? A powerful guild. She suddenly raised her head and looked at the face of Naruto who was close at hand. Opening her mouth, Shuenai said softly, Mr. Naruto, what do you think I should do? Naruto frowned, looked down at her confused eyes, thought about it, and couldn't help but say, join Fairy Tail, and become a member of our guild in the future.